of the CGTN. Here we are at the CPC National Congress. This is day 6, and I'm Dayu. With me is my colleague John. We're with CGTN Digital. Hello.
Yeah, the press conference today is going to be about how to make a green China, focusing on environmental protection, and also I expect it to be about rebalancing the economy using things like renewables to create new jobs.
Yes, I think green energy and environmental protection have always been a very important topic in terms of governance. I think President Xi Jinping also mentioned that in his work report that by 2050, the government is aiming to build a beautiful China, which is very focused on building a very environmentally friendly China.
Yeah, environmental protection is certainly a big part of that.
Yes, it's all right. It's just a badge.
Okay. Yeah, environmental protection is a big part of that, and today we'll be finding out some of the measures that have been taken so far. The environment, it's not as if it's a new focus for China. It's been focusing in 5-year plans on environmental protection for the last 2 or 3, but now it feels like there's going to be a greater emphasis on it over the next 5 years.
Yes, and I hope so, because I also live in Beijing, the capital city of China, which suffers from air pollution from time to time. I hope that the air would be cleaner in the next 5 years, and all the living standards regarding the environment can be improved.
Have you noticed over the last 5 years any changes? Because we all, in the international press, you often see pictures of a very smoggy, grey Beijing. Have you seen that change at all?
Actually, I've been reading reports lately that the air quality in Beijing has improved a little bit over the 5 years, even though it's a little hard to notice, but still, it has been improved, from an overall level. But especially in January and February, where the pollution is pretty bad, I think.
Times.
Yes, the colder times where a lot of the places have to burn coal for heating. When that time comes around, the air gets bad again. So, for people like me, Beijing resident, what we're hoping is that the air pollution can be curbed from that perspective, especially when the heating season comes. We can enjoy some fresh air, as well as some warmth inside our rooms.
Yes, keep us warm. Anecdotally for me, I've only been in China for 2 years, but I've been visiting for about 4. And it seems to me that there's fewer smoggy days, pollution seems to be down a bit, although sometimes it is very bad. And there's also, if you compare internationally, there's a lot of cities which are at a similar level. Delhi, for example, has very bad pollution. And even
in India?
Yeah. Even cities like my own London in the UK has some very, very, very bad pollution, despite a whole range of schemes to cut down on things like car emissions.
So I noticed that London, at a certain point in the history, was really hit hard by air pollution. So how did the UK government handle it?
Well, I think a lot of it was similar to what's been done in China, moving factories further away from the major cities and gradually starting to use cleaner technologies, which is a big focus of what China is trying to do now. It's the biggest investor in renewables in the world now.
Yeah, renewable energies, especially green cars, have been a been a focus for the government to promote. I remember last year or the year before last, the government has been encouraging the green cars or mixed energy cars, where you have electricity and half electricity, half gas, or full electricity cars.
Yeah, I think the sales of electric cars in China went up 50%, 53% in 2016 on 2015 already. There's a target that's about 500,000. They're targeting about 2 million electric car sales every year by 2020 and up to 7 million by 2025. So there's a huge emphasis on making electric cars a bigger part of China's transport network.
Yeah, and I think car sharing is also becoming a new tool, a new trend in Chinese society. I hope that comes to be more often, because I don't really like driving a car in Beijing because of the traffic. But if there's shared car, maybe like once in a while when it's really busy, then
maybe when the taxi hailing apps like Didi, maybe over time that'll be something that the government will focus on. It's trying to make those cars environmentally friendly, or more environmentally friendly. That could be a big part of the solution.
That would be that could be really awesome. But in the meantime, if you have any questions or suggestions, please feel free to leave your comments on our social media platforms, Facebook or Weibo, or whichever platform you're watching our live with.
Yeah, another big issue that might come up today is the global perspective, because whilst any single country can take lots of measures to protect the environment, then it's really a global challenge. It's something else that Xi Jinping mentioned in the report last week. Countries need to work in coordination.
Yeah.
And of course, we've had the issue recently of the US announcing they were going to withdraw from the Paris climate deal. I wonder if that's going to come up today.
Oh, China. Yeah, I think China is going to hold on. Hopefully.
Yeah, China's very much a leader, a global leader now against climate change.
Yep.
It'd be interesting to see whether the people on the panel today, which include the Minister for Environmental Protection, whether he'll have anything to say about the US and the global attempt to crack down on climate change, and how China's working with other countries.
Yes, I think it is important to have. China is definitely a major player, but this is a global problem. Global warming and pollution matters to everyone living on this planet. So I think it needs a lot of joint efforts. So let's see whether we have some comments first.
We have some questions.
Where are the green vehicles? I think China is really promoting green energy as well as electric-driven cars.
Solar and wind power, the capacity produced by China year by year is by a distance the greatest of any country in the world. Partly because of its size, but also if you compare to somewhere like the US, it's massively more. And also solar power manufacturing, it's by a huge distance the world leader. So in green energy, things like wind and solar, and also electric cars, it's really pushing ahead and trying to show a lead, I think.
Yes. Well, from a resident perspective, a few years back, there weren't nearly like there were very little number of electric cars on the road, but now you can see them probably everywhere, wherever you go.
I think Chinese car companies are being mandated to make a certain amount of electric cars. There's new rules being put in place over the next 5 years. I actually had the chance to drive one at the JAC factory in Anhui a few months ago.
How did it feel like?
It felt, it didn't feel like a regular car, a little bit less power. But you felt as if you were, it felt like a smooth drive.
Well, that's good then. I mean, a lot of people are concerned about the driving experience of electric cars, but, well, John just gave the answer that might take some of the worry off your mind. So I think the press conference is coming up really quickly.
It's filling out around us.
Yes, we can see more and more journalists are coming in to the press conference room.
It's actually the final press conference of the 19th CPC National Congress of this style, so I imagine it's going to be a full house.
Yes, and this is actually the day 6 of the National People's Congress, and tomorrow will be the closing ceremony.
Yeah, tomorrow we'll see the new Central Committee and the closing ceremony, and that will be another good day to tune into what we're doing at CGTN. We'll have interviews from delegates and from probably a few journalists to give their perspectives.
Exactly. We'll see what we can bring to you tomorrow when we're at the closing ceremony, starting from probably very early in the morning.
I think we're going to be there pretty early,
Yeah.
Another early start.
But if you do have any questions, please feel free to leave to us.
And if you have questions not just for now, but also for tomorrow, then if you put them up there now, then we can always ask tomorrow and try and get some live responses.
Exactly. Or we can try to film some answers for you and get them prepared so you can check out the news on our platforms. So in terms of the upcoming changes, I hope that China can really be dedicated to the green energy scheme.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident that there's a real dedication to it and a real determination to push forward. As I said before, China's already a leader in lots of these industries, solar, wind, and electric vehicles increasingly. And it's also important to note that with these new technologies come new types of jobs. So while jobs in, say, the coal industry are slowly going away, then there's new jobs coming up in new technologies and that kind of new training. It's investing in these things is push the whole of the society forward.
Yes, but instead of building new things, I think recycling is also a very important factor. And actually, China is thinking of ways to recycle a lot of the plastic and packaging wastes that have been created because of the growth of the e-commerce. And we'll see more and more at the current level is the recycling rate is not good, but I hope that in the next coming decade
there's more measures coming in, right? Just when you're in your apartment, then there's normally be a bin for recycling, a bin for general waste, and on every street as well. I think it's a slow move forward. I think in all countries it is.
Yes.
In terms of telling people why it's important and people sticking to it. But I think it's going in the right direction, and over time,
definitely.
Over time, it's going to get better and better.
Yes, and actually, new energies. I think one of the great things about new energy and clean energy is that you can naturally see it, and it becomes a lifestyle. A couple weeks ago, some of the light bulbs in my room were busted, so I had to go change them. And now I go to the supermarkets and it's all LED light bulbs. So what I did was just check out the watt number. So it's significantly lower than the ones that I had before, just a couple years ago. So
already doing your part.
Exactly. Already doing my part. Already trying my best to save electricity, save water. I think it's also apart from the industry level, it's also an everyday duty for every single one of us living on this planet.
Definitely. I think also there's something we haven't touched upon yet, which is just natural green spaces. We're talking about air quality, and water pollution is also a big issue in China. But one of the other things Xi Jinping spoke about last week was creating nature reserves and national parks as a way to create more green spaces. And that in itself is just a happier way to live.
Yeah. Well, speaking of which, we have an upcoming story on our 1.3 billion series on CGTN, which is exactly about a group of volunteers that dedicate their efforts in saving wild birds and wild animals. So please stay tuned in our reports, and you won't be disappointed.
It's an excellent series, full of small stories like that, which are part of the bigger picture.
Yep. Yeah. John and I, we were actually editing the story just last week, so we can guarantee you the quality is there. So
it'll be interesting to see if that's something that comes up today. The impact of a good environment on the animal ecosystem.
Yes. So I'm just reading some of your comments. Hello, good afternoon, or good evening.
Hello. Good afternoon, good evening.
So if you want to know more, I think the press conference is coming up really quickly, and if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comment section. Even if we have to do something else, we can still, our colleagues monitoring the live stream can also try to answer as much as we can with our information. So
pan around as well, you can see here there's all these guys,
all these cameras
lined up for questions. It's going to be broadcast live on CGTN straight after us on the TV channel, but also it'll go straight live from this stream into
the live coverage of the conference right behind us. So yesterday it wasn't that many people yet, but today I think it's really important.
What was one yesterday?
Yesterday was more education, and a lot of the ministries that matter to like the everyday, day-to-day lives.
I just went on anti-corruption at the beginning of last week.
Oh yeah.
And another one as well, which I'm blanking on right now. But they were packed, really, really busy, and lots of questions and interest. And journalists from, I'm not sure we can catch them here, but not just from China, but from around the world.
Yes. So like basically domestic and international media are very focused on this coverage of the 19th Party Congress, and but CGTN has the most up-to-date and most comprehensive coverage of the event. So please follow us closely on our platforms and our app.
You can follow details about this press conference on social media, but also we'll have a story and a highlight story up in the next couple of hours as well. So you can download our app and read more about it there.
Cool. So without further ado, we'll get prepared for the conference.
I'll take my seat.
Yes, and I will leave the scene to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Development and environmental matters. Officials from the Central Leading Group on Financial and Economic Affairs, as well as the Ministry of Environmental Protection, will speak and take questions from journalists. So keep it right here on CGTN. Now, as we wait for that press conference to begin, let me go live to our reporter, Lindy Mtangana, who is at the Media Center. Lindy, what can we expect from the press conference?
Well, Juncture, as you can see, it's a full room behind me here at the Media Center. This is a press conference that many people are interested in hearing about, not only domestically in terms of the journalists here, but indeed the international world is also paying attention. As you mentioned, of course, we'll be hearing from the CPC Leading Group on Financial and Economic Affairs. Yang Wei-min will be addressing media, as well as Li Ganjie from the Ministry of Environmental Protection. And of course, as you said, this is all about sustainable development, how China is going to pursue growth, but at the same time also meet its carbon reduction emission targets. We've seen China play a leading role in this globally. So of course this is an important conversation and one we're very keen to see what will emerge from it.
Lindy, what issues and topics are of particular interest to you, and what questions are on your mind right now?
Well, indeed, I think what's been quite remarkable over the past 5 years is seeing how China has played a bigger and bigger role in the global conversation about climate change. It's really changed its own kind of outlook, and also the way the world sees China, from being one of the biggest polluters in the world, but now to taking forefront steps in fighting climate change. So what I'm looking to see is whether or not we're going to see the CPC and China overall continue to play this leading role on the global stage, but also how that influence might also play a role in their international relations and how they engage in business, environmental and sustainable business outside of China, for instance, in Africa.
Our Lindy Mtangana at the Media Center for us. Lindy, we'll check back in with you in just a few moments. Again, as we said, we're moments away from that press conference, this one briefing the media on China's green and sustainable development. Stay with us here on CGTN.
In a report delivered at the opening of the 19th CPC National Congress, General Secretary Xi Jinping said the government will put in more effort into improving the environment and building a beautiful China. The concept was first mentioned in 2012 when the country was faced with a series of environmental problems. Achieving this beautiful China includes a set of reforms to develop an ecological civilization. Xi Jinping said reforms will speed up and brought up 4 key points during his work report: to promote green development, solve prominent environmental problems, intensify the protection of ecosystems, and reform the environmental regulation system. Well, according to Xi Jinping, this beautiful China will be attained by 2035.
In his report delivered at the 19th National Congress, General Secretary of CPC Central Committee Xi Jinping hailed the importance of promoting beautiful China through green development. He said the country will step up efforts to establish a legal and policy framework that promotes green production and consumption, and it will promote an economic structure that facilitates low-carbon development.
我们要建设的现代化是人与自然和谐共生的现代化。
The modernization that we pursue is one characterized by harmonious coexistence between man and nature. In addition to creating more material and cultural wealth to meet people's ever-increasing needs for a better life, we need also to provide more quality ecological goods to meet people's ever-increasing demands for a beautiful environment.
Since the 18th National Congress in 2012, China has strengthened efforts to preserve ecological balance. The total spending on ecology has reached more than 1 trillion yuan, with a growth of 6.7% since 2015. Pollution control and management fees also show an increase of 25% compared to that of 2012. Energy consumption per unit of GDP value continued to fall last year, down 17.9% from the year of 2012 as a result of the country's efforts to make energy use more efficient and at the same time reduce pollution. Meanwhile, China has become one of the leading countries in manufacturing new energy equipment. In 2015, China owned the world's largest wind turbines and 2 leading solar panel manufacturers. Last year, China's investment in new energy surpassed 516 billion yuan, with 3.6 million people working in the sector. China is striving to build an ecological civilization, and for the past 5 years, the country has made remarkable efforts in protecting the environment. Our Ning Hong has more.
China has long faced environmental problems, especially in the country's north, where smog has plagued the skies for years. But since 2011, the government has carried out a series of measures to curb air pollution, much to the pleasure of residents living in the region. In Hebei Province, China's largest production base for iron and steel industries, a large number of plants have been shutting down every year. Take the Guangyao Iron and Steel Factory as an example. They decided to shut down their production line even though it was a profitable business.
The big trend will not change. There is still a chance for us to shift to other businesses, so we decided to shut down production while we could.
For the 3,000 workers here, many have been arranged to work in other industries. As environmental governance speeds up, many people are facing a shift in employment. Thousands of kilometers away, in the Greater Khingan Mountains, lumbering activities were called off in 2015. Now, former lumberjacks are involved in protecting the very trees they were previously bringing down.
We're now even collecting our own wastewater and taking it away. We must keep the environment intact so it can attract more tourists.
Improvements in environmental protection have encouraged and preserved the growth of wildlife. Tourism is now the pillar of local economy. The emphasis on ecological civilization is swiftly being carried out across China. Even among the vast deserts in the northwest, anti-desertification work is also bringing benefits. In Alashan Desert, transforming the desert is not only the government's job. The participation of private companies is proving useful. Solar power stations in the desert are providing power to factories while generating jobs for local people.
I used to earn 2,000 to 3,000 yuan a year. Now I get paid 48,000 yuan a year. It's a big difference.
Within 20 years, desert areas in China have shifted from increasing by 10,000 square kilometers every year to decreasing by over 2,000 square kilometers annually. As the environment continues to improve in China, people's happiness is also increasing. Building an ecological civilization requires the sacrifice and hard work of many, but it will benefit future generations. And it is becoming a reality fast in China. Ning Hong, CGTN, Hebei Province.
Now for more on China's role in global environmental protection, we are joined in the studio by Ma Jun with the Institute of Public and Environmental Affairs. Mr. Ma, we appreciate you being with us this afternoon. We just heard from our reporter Lindyam Tangana at the Media Center about some of the topics that are on her mind, the questions she might put to the officials at the press conference. I wonder at this point, what topics interest you the most and what will you be looking forward to hearing?
Yeah, I think President Xi have listed put forward a very ambitious plan, for 2035 to build a beautiful China. We all know that China is still going through massive industrialization and urbanization. How to achieve that target, we have to go through a very tough green transformation. How do we try to implement this? Going to be a great challenge. And to me specifically, there's one expectation, one interest is for the environmental minister, Minister Li Ganjie. This will be his first major presence in front of the cameras. So I'm quite looking forward to that.
If this press conference is like any of the other we've seen and we've had, it will be talking about China's achievements in the field of environmental protection for the past 5 years and also look into the future of what China will be doing, of what China plans to do in the next 5 years, in the decade, 2 decades to come. So let's also recap a little bit here in this field. Since 2011, the Chinese government has carried out a series of measures to curb air pollution. Now, air pollution is what people associate with China's environmental struggle, with China's environmental problems. Talk to us about what concrete measures China has taken in this field, and have they been working, in your opinion?
Yeah, I want to highlight a few of them. First and foremost, 2011 was the year when the Chinese government decided to started monitoring and disclose PM 2.5. Before that, not a single city can do that in China. But this time, at this moment, during the past 5 years, all the more than 300 cities in China now can do that every hour, basically, give people the data so we can much better understand, map out the pollution situation. And this means China's, really determined to tackle the issue. Following up, by 2013, China put forward the 10-point action plan against air pollution, which includes some of the toughest policy choices, like the curbing of the coal consumption and the restructuring of China's very energy-intensive industries. Those are all very, very tough choices, but during the past 5 years, through the strengthening of enforcement and the expansion of transparency and public participation, we have seen some progress made. During the past 5 years, the region surrounding Beijing, we can see the PM 2.5 level, the concentration have dropped by around 30%. That's quite remarkable, put into historical perspective.
I want to talk to you about a key word here when we talk about environmental protection. Sustainable development is not a new word. We've been hearing it for some time, but when we talk about being sustainable development in the year 2017, does it have new meanings? Does it mean that we have new obstacles to tackle?
We all know that China's opening up reform, started from 1981, and after that, about 20 years is almost like development, put development first. And
that's
then,
the priority.
Yeah, priority. And then after that, we can see a shift of paradigm, moving increasingly toward sustainable development. But the difference between this past 5 years and the previous ones is that this leadership is really trying to not just talk the talk, but really try to walk the walk. Taking the air pollution control as an example, from the beginning of this year, the central government have drafted 5,600 inspectors to the area surrounding Beijing, in a big area with the center of China's smog, try to, have run through, have been inspecting more than 100,000 factories and held 17,000 staffs and including government officials accountable for fulfilling their environmental duty. This has helped to tackle one of the toughest barrier, that is the weak enforcement. With that, I can see, much of that, green development must be based on first, the respecting the compliance of legal standards, and now we can see a real change of that, as put it by President Xi. The government officials started paying much more attention to the environmental protection.
I want to stay on this topic of air pollution and PM 2.5 levels because numbers-wise, data-wise, China has been able to turn in a satisfactory report card year after year, but people still expect more because, especially in the Chinese capital, in Beijing, winter is probably one of the most difficult times when PM 2.5 levels can be pretty bad for people living here. Moving forward, you talked about strengthening implementation. You talked about walking the walk. Will we continue to see better air quality levels given those new realities, given those new actions taken by the Chinese government?
Yeah, usually, when we have when we move to tackle the environmental problem, usually it's gonna take some time. Actually, air pollution control may be consume the least amount of time in comparison with water and soil. So, but even with this, the challenge is still, the magnitude is still hard to grapple.
All right, Mr. Ma, I'm sorry to cut you off. Let's turn to that press conference we've all been waiting for. You're looking at live pictures coming out of the media center. We are just moments away from a press conference, this one briefing the media on China's green and sustainable development as well as environmental matters. We will be watching this press conference with our studio guest, Mr. Ma Jun, and break down the report by officials.
Gentlemen, friends from the media, good afternoon. Welcome to the 6th press conference of the press center of the 19th Party Congress. We have with us the Minister Li Ganjie of Environment Protection and Deputy Director Yang Weimin of the Central Leading Group on Financial and Economic Work to brief you on efforts to follow the green development philosophy and build a beautiful China and take your questions. Now I'll give the floor to Mr. Li Ganjie. Friends from the media, good afternoon. It's my great pleasure to meet with you. At the outset, I wish to express sincere appreciation to you for your interest, understanding, and support to building the ecological civilization and ecological and environmental protection. It's my great honor to attend the 19th Party Congress as a delegate and listen to the report delivered by General Secretary Xi Jinping. The report is a very important one. It reflected the common aspiration of the party and of the Chinese people. It is an epoch-making report that is beaming with the truth of Marxism. And It is also
建设伟大工程、推进伟大事业、
the
实现伟大梦
party's
想的政治宣言
political
和
declaration
行动
and
纲领
program of action to accomplish the great
报告
struggle,
呢，
great project,
对
great cause, and great
生态文
dream
明
in the
建设
new era of socialism
和
with
生态
Chinese
环境保护
characteristics.
进行了全
The
面的
report
总结
gave a
和
comprehensive
重点的部署
overview and priority plans on
我
building
们
ecological
作为环保人
civilization
呢，
and environmental
深
protection.
受鼓舞，
And we, in this
倍
line
感
of
振奋，
work, are
完全
greatly
赞同，
inspired by the report.
衷心
We fully
拥护，
endorse the
也将坚决
report
落实。
and will do our utmost to implement
借这个
the
机会呢，
guidance
我
and plans.
给大家把相关的情况做一
Here,
个简
let
要的
me
介绍。
make a briefing.
党的18大以
Since
来，
the 18th Party
以习近
Congress,
平同志为核
the
心的
CPC
党中央
Central Committee with
谋划
Comrade Xi
开展
Jinping
了一
at
系
the
列
core, has
根本
carried
性、
out a lot
长
of
远性、开创性的工作，
groundbreaking work with fundamental
推动我们
and
国家
long-term
的生态环境保
significance
护啊，
and
从
brought
认识到实践，发生
about
了历史性、
historic,
转折性、
transformational
和全局性的
and systemic changes in environmental protection, both in thinking and in practice. Notable progress has been made in building ecological civilization, and the past 5 years have been the best period for ecological civilization, with the most profound awareness, unprecedented efforts, and fastest and greatest progress.
第一呢是思
First,
想认识程
we
度
have
之深
never
切
had a deeper understanding of
全党
ecological
全国
civilization.
贯彻绿色发
The
展
whole party
理
and the
念的
entire
自觉
nation
性、
have
主动性呢显著增强。
embraced the concept of green development, and fewer and fewer people neglect
第二呢是
environmental
污染
protection.
治理力度之大，
Second, we have made unprecedented efforts
我
to
们发
prevent
布
and
实施
control
了
pollution.
3个10条，
We wrote
也
out
就是
plans
大气
on、
水、
prevention and control of air, water,
三大
and
行
soil
动计划，
pollution. These are
坚决向
3
污染宣
major action plans.
污水和
And we
垃圾
declared
处理
war against pollution.
这些环境基础设施的
Wastewater
建
and
设
garbage
加速推
treatment
进。
and other environmental infrastructure
在这
have
个
been
过程
built
中间呢，
at a faster pace.
我们还实施燃煤火电机组的超低排放改造，到目前为止呢，已经
Up
完
to
成
now,
了5亿7000万千。
Coal-fired units with an installed
累计淘汰了
capacity of
环标车和
570 million
老旧车呢，
kilowatts have been upgraded
达到
for
了
ultra-low
1800
emissions.
万辆。
A total of over 18 million
同时呢，
yellow-labeled
我们还
vehicles
开展
and old vehicles
人
were
中环
phased
境
out.
的综合整治，有11万多个
Comprehensive
村庄
environmental improvement
这个
projects have been carried out
完成了整治，
in more than
将近呢
110,000
2亿
villages,
农村人口
benefiting
集
nearly
中受益。
200 million local
重大生态保
residents.
护和修复工作
Major
也进展顺利。
ecological protection and
第
restoration
三呢
projects
是
were
制
carried
度
out
出台评估
smoothly.
之力，前所未有。
Third, there have never
中央
been
全
so
全面深
frequent
化改革领
introduction
导
of
小组
policies and
审议
institutions.
通过了
The
40
Central
多
Leading
项
Group on
生态文
comprehensively
明
deepening
和生态环
reform
境保护的
approved over
具体
40
改革方
specific
案，
reform plans
对
in this
推动绿
field,
色发展、
which
改
has
善环境质量呢，
played
应该
a
说发挥
strong
了强有力
boosting
的
role
推
in
动促进
promoting green development
第
and
四呢
improving air,
是
improving environment
监管
quality.
执法尺度之严，
Fourth,
前所未有。
law enforcement
环境
supervision
保
has
护
never been so
大气
stringent.
污染防治
We
法、
have
水污
formulated
染防
or
治法、
amended
环
environmental
境影响
protection
评价
law, law on
还
air
有
pollution
环境
prevention
保
and
护税
control, law
和
on
安
water
全法
pollution prevention
等
and
多
control,
部
law
法
on
律
environmental
完
impact
成了修
assessment,
订，
law on
污
environmental
染污染
protection
防治
tax,
法
and
呢
law on
也
nuclear
进入了
safety.
全国人大
The law
常委
on
会的
soil
立法
pollution
审
prevention
议
and
程
control
序。
is submitted to the Standing Committee of the
尤其
National
是
People's Congress
新的
for
环境保护法
deliberation.
14年通过以后，从15年啊
The
开
new
始实施，
environmental protection law
一些
came
新
into
的一
force
些
in
规
2015,
定呢，新的一些
and
机
some
制啊，
new measures
在推
and
动企业守
mechanisms
法方面发挥了很好
have
的作用。
played an important role in
第五
urging
呢
the
是环境
businesses
质量改善速
to
度
abide by law.
前所未有。
Fifth, the environment
2016
has been
年，
improving
我们
at
三
an
大区啊，
unprecedented
京
pace.
津冀、长三
In
角和
2016,
珠三角这3个区域的
The
细颗粒物，也就是 PM2.5
average
平均
PM
浓度
2.5 concentration in Beijing, Tianjin, Hebei region, the Yangtze River Delta region, and the
相比啊，
Pearl
都
River
下降
Delta
了
were brought down
30%。
by over 30%
全国
compared
酸雨
with
区面积占
2013.
国土
The
面积的
ratio
比
of
例
acid rain
由历
areas
史高点
dropped
的
from
30%
a record
左
high
右
of
下降到了
30%
去年的
to
7%。也就是过
7.2%
去啊，我们这个
last
酸
year.
雨是面积的所占的比例是很高的。
In the
去
past,
年的时候
the ratio was
达到了
pretty high,
30%以上。
It was over 30% in the 1990s, and now it has come down to 7.2%. In addition, the extent of pollution, the intensity has also declined. The share of surface water sections under National Monitoring Program recorded with a quality of grade 1 to 3 was up to 67.8%, and forest coverage rate increased from 16.6% at the turn of the century to around 22%. In addition to solving domestic environmental problems, we have also taken part in global environment governance. We have ratified and acceded to over 30 multilateral treaties or protocols in this field. We have taken a driving seat in international cooperation to respond to climate change, and China has become an important participant, contributor, and torchbearer in the global endeavor for ecological civilization. These achievements are an epitome of the historic changes of the party and country's cause since the 18th Party Congress. It has laid the foundation and boosted our confidence in future work. While fully recognizing the past progress in this regard, the report of the 19th Party Congress has laid out a series of new thinking, new requirements, new objectives, and new plans on this front. On new thinking, the report made clear that harmonious coexistence between man and nature is an important part of developing socialism with Chinese characteristics in the new era, and made important assessment, including building an ecological civilization is vital to sustain the Chinese nation's development, and man and nature form a community of life. On new requirement, it says that the principal contradiction facing Chinese society has shifted to one between unbalanced and inadequate development and the people's ever-growing needs for a better life. The modernization that we pursue is one characterized by harmonious coexistence between man and nature. In addition to creating more material and cultural wealth to meet people's ever-growing need for a better life, we need also to provide more quality ecological goods to meet people's ever-growing demands for a beautiful environment. On new objectives, the report noted that by 2020, we will continue our campaign to prevent and control pollution. By 2035, there is a fundamental improvement in the environment, and the goal of building a beautiful China is basically attained. By the middle of the 21st century, we will build China into a great modern socialist country that is prosperous, strong, democratic, culturally advanced, harmonious, and beautiful. This adjective beautiful was newly added, and new heights are reached in every dimension of material, political, cultural, and ethical, social, and ecological advancement. On new plans, the report called for efforts in promoting green development, solving prominent environmental issues, intensifying the protection of ecosystems, and reforming the environmental regulation system. These new thinking, requirements, new objectives, and new plans form the fundamental guidance and program of action in driving modernization characterized by harmonious development of man and nature and building a beautiful China. In the report, General Secretary observed that we must never forget why you started, and you can accomplish your mission. The original aspiration and the mission of the Chinese Communists is to seek happiness for the Chinese people and rejuvenation for the Chinese nation. A sound ecological environment bears on the immediate interests of the people. We will bear in mind the encouragement of the General Secretary and high hopes from the people, stay true to our original mission, and keep forging ahead. We will follow through on the guidelines of the 19th Party Congress, especially Xi Jinping's thought on building socialism with Chinese characteristics for a new era, take a people-centered development approach, have a strong commitment to socialist ecological civilization, and work hard to protect the environment and build a beautiful China to meet people's ever-growing demands for a beautiful environment. We will strengthen political consciousness in 4 aspects and take political responsibility for ecological development. Second, we will advance green modes of development and green lifestyle and ensure that nature is tranquil, harmonious, and beautiful. Third, we will address prominent environmental issues related to air, water, and soil pollution. And fourth, we will step up protection and restoration of the ecosystem, increase the supply of quality ecological goods. Fifth, we will deepen the reform of the system of ecological civilization and improve the administration system of the environment. Thank you. I now give the floor to Deputy Director Yang.
Friends from the press, good afternoon. It is my great pleasure to meet you all. I'd like to take this opportunity to give you a briefing about the progress and achievements China has made in the reform of the system for building an ecological civilization. As you all know, China has achieved notable progress in economic growth since the launch of reform and opening up. But ecological environment has become a weak link in national development and a weak spot in people's life. In order to address this problem, we need to take a two-pronged approach. On the one hand, we need to make efforts to promote ecological progress. On the other, we need to reform the system for developing an ecological civilization. And to some extent, the second effort is even more important. Since the 18th Party Congress, the CPC Central Committee with Comrade Xi Jinping at the core has attached high importance to this reform. Out of the 38 meetings convened by the Central Leading Group for comprehensively deepening reform, 20 meetings have discussed subjects related to economic system reform. And discussed 48 important reform measures. The third, fourth, and fifth plenary sessions of the 18th CPC Central Committee have put forward 37 important reform tasks on ecological system reform. To date, 24 of them have been completed, 9 partly completed, and 4 are still underway. And also, 84 reform documents have been promulgated. In 2015, in order to provide the required top-level designing for the ecological system, on the whole, the reform in the ecological system is relatively lagging behind. It is lagging behind economic reform. In order to address this problem, the CPC Central Committee and the State Council formulated the integrated reform plan for promoting ecological progress. The integrated plan established the framework of ecological civilization with multiple pillars and 8 systems that underpin such reform. Progress of reform has been satisfactory. Of the 79 reform tasks set out in the integrated plan for implementation between 2015 and 2017, 73 have been completed, and 6 are basically completed. On the whole, the system for developing an ecological civilization is rapidly taking shape. The reform in the system for the property rights of natural resource assets is making advances. The system for the protection of territorial spatial development is strengthening. The pilot reform for the spatial planning system is launched in full scale. The system of total consumption regulation and comprehensive conservation resources is strengthening. The system for payment-based use and ecological compensation of resources is moving forward. The reform of the environmental governance system is stepping up, and also the system for environmental management and ecological protection system is under construction. The system for the evaluation, performance, and accountability of civilization, ecological civilization, is being put in place. The building of ecological civilization is a profound transformation in China's history of development. And the past 5 years, since the 18th Party Congress, have witnessed the most intensive, fastest, ambitious, and productive reform in the ecological system. This demonstrates a historic transformation in the course of the party and the state, and also a historic transformation in China's system for the development of an ecological civilization. For example, China's constitution stipulates that all natural resources are owned by the state and by the whole people. However, except for mineral resources, the public ownership of natural resources is not fully protected and clearly defined. This system has remained untouched for more than 60 years since the founding of the PRC and more than 30 years since the launch of reform and opening up. And under the current CPC Central Committee, with Comrade Xi Jinping at the core, reform has been launched in this area, with a focus on determining the ownership and improving the management system. Although it will take time to complete the building of this system, a historical process has already been initiated. In the past, all localities were pushing for infrastructure development, industrialization, and urbanization. But this is not consistent with the law of economics and nature. We have pushed for the building of the functional zoning system and urged all regions to pursue development following the requirement of prioritized, focused, restricted, and banned development. For example, Beijing is a prioritized development zone. General Secretary Xi has proposed to relieve the non-essential functions of Beijing as capital, which is a new approach to intensive and efficient development, and also a new model for the development of regions with population density and heavy economic functions. So this is like a reconstruction of the capital city, which is as important as the reconstruction in Beijing in Yuan, Ming, and Qing dynasties. And this is something that will have centennial importance. In the past, almost all the departments involved in natural resources management had set up nature reserves under their own administration, such as forest parks, national parks, scenic spots, and geological parks. These reserves are large in size. They cover the same proportion as that of the United States. The United States only has more than 300 million population, but China has 1.3 billion population. But regulation in these nature reserves is not in place, and some exist only in name. Under the leadership of the General Secretary, we have approved the setup of several pilot national parks for Sanjiangyuan, 123,100 square kilometers, the National Park for Siberian tigers and leopards, 14,600 square kilometers, the Nature Reserve, a National Park for giant pandas, 27,100 square kilometers, and the National Parks for Qilianshan Mountain, 50,200 square kilometers. And the purpose of these national parks is to return 2% of China's territory, 215,000 square kilometers in total, to the nature, to the giant pandas, Siberian tigers and leopards, and Tibetan antelopes, and leave more pure land to our future generations. So this is something of historic importance for the Chinese nation. Another problem is the overlapping in spatial planning. And one piece of land may be allocated for different purposes by different departments. This is also a problem that we had long hoped to resolve. As you know, spatial governance system is an important part of the state governance system. But what is the basis of a spatial governance system? Spatial planning is that basis. But spatial planning must be well coordinated and unified. There should be only one spatial plan for the whole country. So our General Secretary has called for integrating different kinds of spatial plans into one single plan in different counties and cities. One blueprint and one plan for each county and each city, and one blueprint only. And General Secretary Xi has also presided over the meetings that approved the spatial planning pilot for Hainan and Ningxia provinces. And the results of these pilot programs have proven that one spatial plan for one region is viable. There's no need for developing different spatial plans for one region. We have implemented the strictest system for arable land protection. We have stick to the red line of 1.8 billion mu of cultivated land. But the protection for other ecological space is relatively weak. Since protection for arable land is strict, some localities and regions are now turning forests, wetlands, grasslands, and oceans into construction land, because construction lands can bring profits to the government. And General Secretary Xi said that mountains, rivers, forests, lakes, and farmlands are like a community of life. That is to say, in order to ensure the quality of arable land, it is important for us to protect other ecological space while protecting arable land. So we have introduced this system of total consumption regulation for all natural resources, including land, water, energy, natural forest, grassland, wetland, soil, ocean, and mineral resources. And also in the past, some localities focused only on the speed of growth while ignoring protection of the ecological environment. General Secretary Xi has made the call that GDP should not be seen as the sole criteria for performance evaluation. And for those areas which have suffered from ecological damages, the leading officials must be held accountable for life. Now, through various institutional arrangements, various localities have become more purposeful and active in protecting the eco-environment. This represents a fundamental shift in the ecological protection system. And also historical changes have taken place in the reform of the environmental protection system. Minister Li has already provided some information on that. All in all, the 19th Party Congress, building on the basis of the 18th Party Congress, has again sounded the clarion call for speeding up the reform of the ecological system and building a beautiful China. This further demonstrates the strong will and determination of the CPC Central Committee with Comrade Xi Jinping at the core to strengthen and promote ecological progress. We need to fully apply the spirit of the 19th Party Congress, and in particular, win this battle against pollution. Battle against pollution has been identified as one of the three major tasks in the 19th Party Congress report. We need to ensure victory over this battle against pollution, strengthen the weak link of ecological environment, provide more high-quality eco-products to meet the ever-growing public needs for a sound eco-environment. So that our country will enjoy bluer skies, clearer waters, greener mountains, and our people will be able to see stars at night, hear birds chirp, and achieve harmonious coexistence between man and nature. And this is my opening statement. I'm ready to take up your questions. Thank you. We will now move into the Q&A part. Please identify your media affiliations before asking your questions.
谢谢主持人。我想问一个有关生态文明体制改革的问题，想问一下两位部长。因为我们看到，随着第4批中央环保督察组进驻完毕，那2年多的时间，中央环保督察组完成了31个省市区的全覆盖，而且问责了超过上万人。那我想问一下，两位部长怎么样评价这场大督查的效果？但是在这个社会当中，我们也看到了某种担心。 就是有人会说，会不会我们的督察组一走，污染就重新回来了，继续涛声依旧了？或者很多企业存在着你来我停，你走我继续生产的问题。我们怎么避免这种问题的发生？但在这个督察的机制上，怎么样形成一个长期的有效的震慑？未来什么样的具体部署？谢谢。
With CCTV. As the 4th round of environmental supervision and inspection from the central government came to an end, 31 provinces, autonomous regions, and municipalities have been covered by the supervision and inspection in 2 years' time, and over 10,000 officials have been held accountable. What is your view on the effectiveness of the supervision and inspection? Some people worry that environmental pollution will relapse when the supervision and inspection group leaves, and some countries simply do not comply with environmental standards after the environmental inspection tours. So how can we avoid this? What arrangements do you have for the future?
我来回答一下您的问题。中央环保督察是18大以后。
Environmental inspection is a major reform measure initiated and promoted by General Secretary Xi after the 18th Party Congress. We piloted this in Hebei Province at the end of 2015, and up to now, we have covered all the 31 provinces, autonomous regions, and municipalities. The environmental inspection that took 2 years has produced very good results and have been applauded and recognized by various sides. And some say the inspection is endorsed by the people, recognized by the central party leadership, supported by the localities, and has solved real problems. And that is a very apt description. Undoubtedly, there have been notable results. And they can be reflected in the following 4 aspects. First, it significantly increased various sides awareness to protect the environment and promote green development. In the report of the 19th Party Congress, General Secretary noted that since the 18th Party Congress, the entire party and the whole country have become more purposeful and active in pursuing green development. And there has been a clear shift away from the tendency to neglect ecological and environmental protection. In that regard, the environmental protection inspection has played a major role. Second, a number of prominent problems have been solved. In the 4 groups of inspection, we have received a total of 135,000 cases of violation reported by the general public. And after deducting duplicates, 104,000 cases were handed to the local authorities. By far, 102,000 of them
办结。
have been handled.
其中呢，我们梳理了一下，大概有8万件，这个涉及到
helped to solve over
垃圾呀、
80,000
油烟
environmental
呐、
problems that concern the
黑臭
people,
啊、
such as waste,
噪声
foul
呐、
smell, lamp black, noise,
散乱物企业污染啊、黑臭水体啊，
black and
这些
smelly
问题
water, and
得
pollution
到了
from
比较好的解
enterprises.
决。也因此呢，确确实实啊，这个
And
督查机制
that
啊、
is
督查
why
行动啊，
the
得到了
inspection
广大老百姓
has
的
been
真心的欢
warmly
迎和拥
welcomed
护。
and endorsed by the general public.
第三个呢，
Third,
是中央环保督察啊，这个促进了
the
地
inspection
方产业结构的
has also
转型
helped
升级。
to advance
那么
industrial
很多地方呢，把中央
structure
环保督察
transformation and
当成
upgrading.
是这个
And
推动绿色发展、
the
推进
localities
供
have
应社会
taken
改革的
this
一个
as
很好的一个契
a
机和
very
动
good
力。
opportunity to
那
advance
借
supply
这么
side
一个机
structure
会呢
reform，and
加强
advance green
企业
development.
的污染防治，
They have taken
内
this
化环境
opportunity
内化环境成本，
to
让这些守法企业有一个
stepped up
更加
efforts and
公平的
internalize the
竞争
environmental
环境，
costs and
尤其
create
是
a
整
level
治那些
playing
散乱
field
物企业，
for those
比
law-abiding
较好的
businesses.
解决了
In
一些地
particular, we
方
have
突出存
addressed
在的
the
劣币
unlawful
啊、
and
驱逐良币的问
disorderly
题，
businesses and solved
应该说
the
大大
problem
的
of bad money driving
增
out
加了这
the
些
good,
行业啊、产业的
which
规
increased
模和效益。
the scale and efficiency of
第四个
relevant
呢，
industries.
也是有效的
Fourth,
促进了
the
地方
inspection
环境保
also
护、
helped
生态文明长效机制的
to
健
establish
全完善。
long-term
那
mechanism
么
of
很多地方呢，也
environmental
是把
protection.
中央环保督察当成一个很好的机会，认
With
真
the
的
inspection as an
梳理分
opportunity,
析
the
问
different
题，
localities have worked hard to find out the
加快
prominent
啊
problems
建立健全相关的
and improve
法规啊、制度啊。
institutional
大概我们
building
初初的那个
and
统
long-term
计了一下，
mechanism.
有300-400项，就各地加起来。
Altogether,
这
about
些制度的建立
300
完
and
善，为
400
各地
items
进一步的
of laws and regulations have
推进生态
been
文明建设、
rolled
绿
out,
色发展，
which
发挥了很好的作
played
用。
an important
那么从
role
成效上
in
来讲，我觉
protecting
得是
the
确确实实
environment.
这4个方面是非常突出的。
So those are the 4 aspects
那么我
of
们也
the
总结了一
results.
下，中央环保督察之所以有这么好的成效，
The reason behind such good results
它主要的是有这么6
is
个特点。
mostly in the following 4
第一
features.
个呢是
First,
坚持以
we
人
have
民的
taken
为
a
中心的发展思想，
people-centered development
把老百姓
philosophy,
的事当事，放在心上，抓在手上。
and we have taken very
第二
seriously
呢
the
是
people's interests.
牢固树立4个意识。
Second, we have
旗帜鲜明
enhanced
讲
the
政治。
political consciousness in
第
4
三个
aspects
呢
and
是
ensured political
紧盯
commitment.
党委政府，落实党政同责啊，
Third,
一岗双责。
The party committees and local governments are held
第四
equally
个呢是坚持问
responsible
题
for
导向，
environmental protection.
奔着问题去。
Fourth, we have taken a
第
problem-oriented
5个呢是充分的信息公开，
Fifth, there is full information
有效的发挥社会
disclosure
监督的作用。
so
基
that
本
it can
上
be
我
put
们
under
收到的
scrutiny
问题啊，收到的
by the
举报
general
一件算一件，
public.
都向社会公开。
Basically,
最后
all
第
the
6条，第一，
cases
也是最
or
关键的，
these
是
have been
严
made
肃
public.
严厉的追责问责。
And sixth, we have
这6个
had
特
a
点是非常明显的，
serious
也可以
accountability
说
system.
是我们中央环保督
These
察的6条成功经
6
验。
features
实践
are
证明
also
呢，
our
这
successful
6个特点6条
experience.
成功经验是完全符合我们国家的国情，完全符
Our
合体制
experience
的特
shows
点，
that
也完全
environmental
符
protection
合
inspection as a
事务
innovation in
发
our
展的本
mechanism
身的规
is
律。
fully in line with China's national
也
conditions
正因为如此呢，
and in line with the
我们
law of
在后续的
development.
中央环保督察过程中间，
In our
一定会
future
进一步的
inspection,
把它坚持下
we
去。
will continue
也不仅仅是在
the
中央
good
环保督察中间把它坚持，
practices
我们还
and
会
also
把它
in
借鉴
other fields.
反馈借鉴到其他的环境保护工作中间去。
This practice, this approach can also be
中央环保督察取
borrowed
得的
in
成效
other aspects
积累
of
的经验
environmental protection.
也从一个侧面啊，充分
Our
的反映、印
achievements
证了
have
18大以来
also
我们国家党和
demonstrated
国家的
the
事业啊 确确实实是取得了历史性的成就，
historic
发
achievements
生了深刻的历史性的变革。
and changes over the past 5 years in
您
the
刚才提
party
到
and
就是担
country's
心中
cause.
央环保督察这一轮挺好，
You
后续会不会继续
mentioned
的
the concern
搞
about
下去？
future
有些企业会不会
inspection and
污
whether
染
the
环
businesses
境会不会死灰
will
复燃？
relapse
我
in
想，因
their
为
pollution.
我们前期历时2年的成效这么好，
We already
这
have
么受
good
欢迎，
results
并且中间又
in the
创
past
造
2
积累了
years,
这么好的做法
and
和
there's
经
been
验，
good practices and experience.
不会有任
I'm
何疑问。后
confident
续我们一定会把它坚持下去。
that we will
实
continue
际上，
such
在试轮结
practice.
束以后，作为牵头这项工
After
作
the
的
full round
环
of
境保护部啊，
inspection,
我们正在
the
抓紧开展
our ministry
以下这么几个方面的工作。
is
第
following
一个
up
呢，就是对
in the following
首
aspects.
轮
First,
前4批啊进行充分的总结，
we will summarize
梳理
the
问题，
first round of inspection, review
总结
experience,
经验，
identify
进一步的完善
inadequacies,
相关的一些机
and
制和
improve
配套的一些
relevant
措施，
mechanisms
为后续啊
so as
开展
to
第2轮
make
做好准备。
good plans for future inspections.
第2个呢，就是在
Second,
研究
we
推进啊
are
有关
studying
中央环保督察的相关的
relevant
法规的制定工作，
legislation
有些
on
是想把它
environmental
推
protection
动这项工作啊这么
inspection
有效的一个机制啊，
and make it
让它纳入法制化、
more
规范化的
law-based
轨道，
and
让
well
它
and
长期地
better regulated
发展下去，坚持下去。
so that it will continue in the long term.
第3个呢，就是
Third,
针对重点地区、
for the key
重点行业、
regions, industries
重点的问题，
and major problems,
我们啊准备组织开展
we
叫机动式点穴式
will
的专项督
conduct
查，
special precision
这个也正
inspection.
在谋划之中，
And that is under
可能
discussion.
今年年底啊，明年年初，我们就会
At the end of this year
出
or
台相
early
关的一些
next
举
year,
措
we will roll
开
out
展相关的一些
relevant
专项行动。
measures for the special
第4个呢，就是
campaigns.
积极
And
指
fourth,
导和督促
will guide and
地方
encourage the localities to
省一级
set
的
up provincial
环保督察的体系
environmental protection, supervision, and
因为是
inspection
国家督省啊，
mechanism.
省督市县，国家督省呢
There's
是
a chain of
体制机制
command.
已经基本健全，那么省
At the
督市
national
县呢
level, we already
现
have
在
a
正在
system,
通过省
and
议下
at the
环保
provincial
垂直
level,
管理改革这项
efforts
制
are
度
being
抓紧
made
推进。我们
to
现在呢，在
advance
抓
this
紧呢
cause.
指导督促地方呢，
So we
这
are
个体系把它建立
guiding
起来。
and
将来
encouraging
国家
the
和省两级
local
联动，就一
authorities
定会
to
使
set
得
up
这
their
个机制
own
发挥更大
inspection
更好的作用。
mechanisms.
我就回答这一些，谢谢。
Thank you.
欢迎媒体参与和
And
监
we
督吧。
welcome
也
the
欢迎媒体
media's
参与。
participation and
杨主任
oversight.
好，杨主任好好。
这个
Let
刚
me
才
add
李部长
a
讲
few
得很
words.
好，我要想
Just
说
now,
的
the
就是
minister has
这
already
个世界大
provided
报告
a very detailed answer.
有一句话
And I
叫
want to
坚
quote
决制止和
one
惩
sentence
处
from the
破坏
19th
生
Party
态环境
Congress
行为。
report and
就一句话，但是
seriously
呢，它表明了我们党的一
punish
个立场、一个态度、一个
acts
决心，
that
就是对
damage the
破坏
ecological
生态环
environment.
境
And this
这种
shows the
行为
position and stance
一
of
定
the
要
Central
坚决制
Committee.
止，而
We will
且前面讲
seriously
到叫
stop
严惩
and
重
also
罚。
punish
我相信通过
those that are
这样一些
responsible.
制度性的安排，
I
长效机
believe
制
that with
是一
these
定会建立
institutional arrangements, we'll be able to set up this long-term
不敢
mechanism
不想破坏
so
生态
that
环境里这样一种社
people
会
will
氛围。
have no
那我
intention
觉得长效机制
and
可以
will
建
dare
立
not
谢谢。
to damage the environment, and that will be the effectiveness of the long-term mechanism.
那我
Thank
们
you.
继续提问哈。哎，对，那位外国记者，女士，哎，对，是你，是吧？哎，话筒，对。
谢谢主持人，非常感谢这个机会，我是《华尔街日报》的记者。我想问一下两位部长，就是关于要这个改善生态环境 这个目标和要保持经济稳中增长这个目标，这两个目标之间会不会有一些矛盾？政府是怎样考虑处理这两个目标之间的矛盾？还有就是我们注意到，因为那个环保的原因，有一些厂就是停业，然后现在停产。我们就想问一下，因为这个环保的原因停厂，这个关厂停产的，会不会造成失业率的提高？非常感谢，谢谢。
With Wall Street Journal, my question is, between improving ecological environment and maintaining economic growth, are there any contradictions between the two? And how will the government handle this contradiction? We have also noted, due to our efforts to protect the environment, some plants have suspended their production. Will that raise unemployment rate because of this?
还是我来先回答一下这个问
Well,
题。
let me answer your question first.
前天吧，这个在新闻发布会上
The day before
听到也是
yesterday
有位
at the press conference, I noticed
媒体的记者给
there was also one
发改委的
question
张勇
for
主任提
the
了一个类似的问题，
chairman of or the minister of the NDRC.
就
It was a
是
question
加
from
强环
Reuters.
境保护啊，
It
是
is
不会
it was a
影响
question
GDP。
on the relationship between environmental protection
看
and
张勇主任
GDP,
啊回答得
whether
非常好。
environmental protection efforts will
你要说一点
have any
这个
impact
局
on
部的
GDP
微观
growth.
的影响对企业本身的影响
I
有
think
那
the minister provided good very good answer.
不可能的。
It is impossible that
但是
such efforts will have
从
no,
长远
not
看，从
not even
宏观
any
上看，
impact on economic
从
growth. But over
大
the
局
long
上
run,
看
in
是
terms of
没
the
有影
larger
响。
picture, the
加强环境保
impact is
护，
minimal.
推动绿色发展，加强生态文
To
明建设，
strengthen environmental protection and the building
经济
of an ecological
是正
civilization
相关。
has a positive correlationship with economic growth.
习近平总书记讲啊，
General
包
Secretary
括
Xi
在这一次
Jinping
19大报告里面，
has
又再
said
次
on
重申，再次强调，
several different occasions, and including during the
必
19th
须
Party
树立
Congress,
和
that
践行
it is important for us to foster
绿水青山就是金山银山的理念。
implement this vision that
总书记还讲，
green mountains and clear rivers are invaluable assets
保护
to the
生态环
nation.
境就是
And
保
General
护生态，
Secretary Xi has also said that protecting ecological
改善生
environment
态环境就是发展生态。
is protecting production, and improving ecological
我想
environment
啊
is improving
这
the
是建立
environment.
在深刻的理性分析
I think
充
these
分的
statements
无数
are
的
based
成
on
功的实际
thorough
案例基础上的
scientific
科学论
analysis and also numerous
国外很
previous
多的成功
experiences
的案
and
例，
cases.
我们国内也有。
We
因为
have
时间
success,
有
we
限
have
在
a
这里不
positive
解读
experience
每一句来就不
both
展
at
开
home and abroad. I will not go into details in the interest of time.
从18大以来，尤
Since
其
the
是
18th
近
Party
2年
Congress
以
in
来，
particular over the past 2
我们
years,
开展的中央环保督察也好，还是目前正在
both
一些
the central level
重点地区
inspection
开
on
展
environmental
的
protection and
环境执法专项行动
the
来看也
special
好，
campaign on environmental law enforcement in
环境保
some
护
key localities
并没有影响
have demonstrated
经济
that
发展。
environmental protection has not had any negative impact on economic growth. It
大家
has
可以
not
看到
affected
这2年
economic
我们
growth.
国家的经济发展是
As you can
势
see,
头是非常好，
the Chinese
各项指
economy
标
has maintained a very strong momentum over the past 2 years.
GDP 也好，财政也好，
Various indicators,
外
GDP,
贸也好，
fiscal revenue, or foreign trade, they are all quite strong and positive,
都是非常喜人。
and they're all quite satisfactory.
我们在中央环保督察的过程中间，实际上也是紧密地跟踪了这些地区的
In
一些
conducting
经济的一些数据。
central inspection on
我们
environmental
发现
protection,
呢，开
we
展
have
中央环保
followed
督察的这些省，
and followed the statistics
它的经济各项指标没有受到任何影响。
and economic indicators of localities, and we have found that these regions and localities have not affected by the environmental protection campaign, and to
可
some
能你
extent
也
they are even doing
知道
better.
我们国家的
And you also asked the question about employment.
主要城市的调查实业那个调查
As
的实业
you
率
know,
已经降到
surveyed
了
unemployment rate in China has dropped to
近些年的最低的水
the
平。
lowest level in recent years.
如果说是这些年我们加强环境保护，影响了就业，
So I don't think environmental protection has had any negative impact on employment. Otherwise, we would not have such a low unemployment rate. And also, while strengthening environmental protection, we have emphasized on both the immediate results of the campaign and also the long-term effects of the efforts. So we have put a lot of emphasis on taking the right approach and the right strategy in moving forward this campaign of environmental protection. On the one hand, for those companies that have violated laws and regulations, we adopt a zero tolerance attitude. We have severely punished those companies in strict accordance with laws and regulations. On the other hand, we have taken a classified guidance approach, and we have introduced different policies and measures for different industries and handled relevant issues on a case-by-case basis. Some media reports recently said that we are taking a one-size-fits-all approach. And I want to reaffirm that we are firmly opposed to any one-size-fits-all approach in strengthening environmental protection. We are opposed to this approach, even if some localities have had this kind of cases. We have redressed the problem immediately. And for those companies that are able to correct the mistakes by themselves, we have given them some probational period to correct their mistakes. We have not taken sweeping measures to close down all companies that have violated laws and regulations. And only those companies that have no hope of correcting their mistakes and are going for green production will be ordered to be closed. And it is because of the approach that we have taken, our campaign has won the support of all quarters, including companies and the local governments. And that is also the reason why, in my view, there is a positive correlationship between environmental protection and economic performance. The environment is improving and the economy is not negatively affected. Thank you.
这样，先给第三排这位吧。好。
谢谢，我是中国青年报记者。刚才杨主任您也提到，就是在过去的5年中，深改组的38次会议有20次提到了生态文明体制改革。过去的这个改革成就也是大家有目共睹的。但是呢，我现在想问的是，在这个改革的过程中，您认为困难和问题是什么？下一步改革的着力点是什么？谢谢。
With China Youth Daily, I have noted that over the past 5 years, 20 out of the 38 meetings of the Central Leading Group on comprehensively deepening reform has mentioned the reform of the system for developing an ecological civilization. And in this work, widely acknowledged achievements have been made. I'd like to know what difficulties and problems have you met in advancing the reform, and what will be the focus of the reform in the future?
好，谢谢你的提问。
Thank you for your question.
生态文明体制改革
Reform of the system for developing an ecological civilization is very much experimental.
我前面讲过，就是总体
As
来
I said
看，
just now, on the whole,
经济体制改革进展还是比较快的。
economic reform is progressing relatively fast, while the reform of the ecological system is relatively lagging behind. And many of our reform measures have no precedents to follow in the world. There's no ready experience to follow. Functional zones is one example. No country has ever set up any functional zones. And also the balance sheet of natural resources assets. No country has done that before. As we can see from the progress of reform, there are indeed some problems to be resolved. Some reform tasks are being implemented in a slow pace. For example, the reform of the property rights for natural resource assets is still in the pilot stage, and there is still a lot of difficulty in determining the ownership of natural resources. The Constitution stipulates that rivers are owned by the entire population, but how to define the concept of water flow, because in dry seasons and flood seasons, the water flow's definition is different. And there are also a lot of difficulties in integrating the management system. The problem of overlapping functions of different departments in ecological protection and environmental governance is not fundamentally resolved yet. And following the arrangement and plan of the 19th Party Congress, we will make further efforts to push forward reform in this area. And some of the reforms implementation need the amendment and revision to the relevant laws and regulations. But the revision of these laws and regulations is relatively slow in progress. Reform is introduced with the approval of the leading group on comprehensive deepening reform, but the amendment and revision to laws and regulations will take much longer time, and it's more complicated, as I think you can understand that. And also, in terms of the reform of the ecological system, the regulation and oversight of the government has been strengthened on all fronts. As Minister Li said, the central level inspection on environmental protection is one example, and this work is done by the central government. But compared to the role of the government, the role of the market is not yet fully mobilized, and we need to develop and introduce more incentives for companies to reduce their pollution. And market system in these areas needs to be further strengthened. That will be a priority and a focus of reform going forward. So on the whole, we are going to follow the general requirements of the 19th Party Congress on speeding up the reform of the system for developing an ecological civilization. We need to take a problem-driven approach to address the problems I laid out just now, and we also need to make greater efforts to strengthen the weak links and loopholes in the system. Thank you.
这样，第4排吧。 第4排那位，对，男士，刚才第4排那位，看不错，那行，第3排那位男士吧，好，
谢谢主持人。你好，我是中国气象报记者。这个问题是提给李部长的。 我们知道今年年初的时候，气象与环保两部门是对外表示，将研究针对雾霾天气的两部门的联合预报预警的发布机制。那么我想问一下，这项工作目前的进展情况是如何的？我们也注意到，在19大报告中，总书记再次强调了要打赢蓝天保卫战。那么您认为目前面临最大的挑战是什么？谢谢。
I'm with China Meteorological Daily. Early this year, the China Meteorological Administration and the Ministry of Environmental Protection said that we will release a system to send precautions against smogs soon. I'd like to know what progress has been made in this area. And as General Secretary Xi Jinping said in the report to the 19th CPC Congress, we need to win the battle to defend our blue sky. I'd like to know what is the biggest challenge in doing so.
谢谢你的提问啊。
Thank you for your question.
这个大气污染防治要做好。
To prevent and control air pollution.
首先，这个预测预警的这个工作要做好。
First and foremost, we need good forecast and
预测预警要做好呢。
monitoring and early warning
两个方面
system.
缺一不可。一个呢，就是要把这个
first,
污染排放的情况要把它摸清楚。
We need to make
第二
clear
个呢，就是把
the
气象
discharge or the
气象方
pollutant
面的条件
emission.
把它搞清楚。
And second, we need to
因为
make
你预
clear
测预警呢，
the meteorological conditions.
关键在这两个方面，排放多少，
Those are
气象是一
key
个什么情况。
to the
也从这
monitoring
个角度来
and
讲，要把预测预
forecast.
警这项工作要做好的话，离不开我们环保部门
In
跟气
other
象部
words,
门的
there needs to be
合作，紧密合作。
good cooperation between the meteorological authorities and the environmental protection
这一2
agencies.
年呢，我们的预测预警啊，
In
预测
recent
预报工
years,
作啊，越来越好。我觉得
the
最
forecast
重要的、
and warning system,
最关键的一
is
条
getting
就是我们
better.
环保部门跟气象部门啊，
the
开
key
展了非常
lies
紧
in
密
the
和
very
足有
close
成效的合作。
and effective cooperation between the
可能大家不
two
知道，实际上每
agencies.
一天，
On a daily
尤其是
basis,
进入秋冬季以后，
especially in autumn
我们
and
气象部门的
winter,
专家和我们环保部门的专家，他们有一个机制，
meteorological
每天都
and
坐在一
environmental
起来
protection
进行分析
experts have a
发挥各自的特长。
meeting mechanism to analyze
也
the
因此啊，大家
weather
注意到，至少我是
and
每
put
天，
their
因为我现在
insights.
坐在这个位置上是特别关注每天的情况。
And I
至
pay
少是我
particular
注意到
attention
啊，
to
预
air
测的情
quality
况跟
each
实际
day.
发生的情况是非常吻合的。
The
这也
forecasts
说
are
明
pretty
啊，从一个
accurate.
侧面啊，印证我们两家合作的成
And
效
that
是
is
非
a
常显著。
reflection of the good cooperation between the two
当然，气象
agencies.
部门跟环保部门还有其他的一方面也需要开展合
And
作。
of course,
实际
in
上
other
也正在
areas,
探讨
we also
也
need
正在推
good
进。
cooperation,
我相
which is
信呢，
under discussion
双方
and is
共
being
同努力啊，
promoted.
一定
I'm
会
confident
在
that with our joint efforts,
相关的工作方面取得更
we
加
will
好的、
make
更加明显的成
even
效。
greater progress.
关于你提到的总书记在19大报告中间
On the second part
提
of
出
your
来是
question regarding
要持续实施大气污染防治行动
the，
打
guidelines
赢
in the report
蓝
that
天保
making
卫战。
concerted and continuous
过去是
efforts
叫打
to
好，
win the
现
battle
在
to
是要
defend
打
blue
赢。
sky. We need to win the battle,
实际上是意味着比过去啊有更高的要求。
which means there are higher requirements than
怎
in
么
the
个打赢法？
past. And how do we do
我
that?
们呢，一方面在深入的学习领会总书记的讲话精神，另外呢，也在
We
边学习
are
边思考，
studying the
边推动，
guidelines in the report, and
准
we
备
are
采取一系列的
making
措施，
actions. We are taking actions on the ground
来进一步的强化这项工作，
to step up our work
确保啊，到2020年的
and
时
make
候，
make sure that
污染
by
防治，尤其是大
2020
气
pollution prevention and control,
能取得明显的
especially
成效。
air prevention and control,
明显
will
成效的一个标志就是我们
have
在“15生态环境保护
notable
规划”里边设定的目标一定要实现。
that is, we must accomplish the goals
全
set
国
out
338
in
个
the
地级城
13th
市，
five-year plan.
优良天数的达标比率必须
In
达
the
到80%以上。
338 cities nationwide,
PM2.5
the
不达标
ratio
的
of
城
days
市，
with good quality must be over 80%.
这个 PM2.5的浓度要平均下降18%。
Concentration of PM
15
2.5
年为基础，
must decline by 18%
同时呢，还
compared
要
with 2015.
为2035年
And we
生
also
态环境根本改善这个目
need
标，
to work hard to
要
achieve
做好谋划，打好
the
基础。
fundamental improvement in environment by 2035.
而2035年生态环境根本改善这个目标呢，我们现在也正在研究什么叫根本改善。
Actually, work has already
我
been
个人
started
体
on
会啊，
this front.
至少对于
By a fundamental
大气
improvement
环境质量这一条来讲，恐怕不仅仅
in
是
air
全国
quality,
平均水平，包括我们的一些重点区
we
域，
need to have
都应该
improvement
达到
on national average.
35微克的，就 PM2.5而言啊，
And TM
30
2.5
微克的这么一个标
concentration,
准。
there must be
但是要达到这个标准，说实在的，难度非
a
常大，
ceiling of 35
需要我们啊
milligram.
非常大的努力，可能
And
才
to
能实现
achieve
这么一个
that goal, tough efforts must be made.
我们呢也一定会尽全力
And we will do our
来把这项工作把它做好，
utmost
能够通过我
to
们的努力
achieve
啊，
that goal,
改善环境质量，
to improve
满足
the quality of
好人民
environment
群众啊
and meet
对优美
people's
生态环境的需要。
ever-growing demand for
好，
a
咱们继
beautiful
续提问。
environment. Thank you.
好，第6排那位吧。对，是的，
谢谢发言人，凤凰卫视、凤凰网提问。问题想请教李干杰先生，我们注意到大气10条在今年就进入收官之年，但我们也看到有些地方，包括北京这样的重点城市，可能离目标还是有差距的。那想请问环保部有什么样的后续的措施？我们也注意到，包括今年进入秋冬季以来，雾霾天气还是不断减少，是不是我们的关停力度不够，还是有什么其他更有力的措施？谢谢。
With Phoenix TV, this is the last year for implementing the 10 measures for the prevention and control of air pollution. But till now, some localities, including Beijing, still fall short of meeting the targets set by the 10 measures. What measures will the Ministry of Environmental Protection take to ensure the targets will be made? In particular, in winter and autumn, some localities still have serious pollutions. So what measures will we take?
我刚才回答这个问题的时候呢，就大气的事已经向大家介绍了一些情况。
On the last
您
question,
这个
I've
问题呢，我
already
再把它
mentioned
再展开一
the
下。
action plan on air pollution prevention and control.
大气10条呢是
These
13年
action
9
plan
月份制定发布的，
was promulgated
到目前
in
为止
September
整整
2013,
4年多一点
so
的时间。
it has been enforced for
应该说4
about 4
年
years.
多一点的时间呢，这个显示出来成效还是非常明显的。
Over the past 4 years, there have been notable
也从
results and progress.
从而说明呢，大气10条
It also
确定的思
demonstrates
想和
that
方向是
the
对的，
approaches and orientation in the action
路径
plan
和措
have
施
been
是对的，
effective.
执行也是
There
非常有
has also
利。
been good enforcement.
正因为如此呢，4年以来是取得了比较明显的成效。
That is why we've had
我这里向大家
notable
报3
results
组
over the
数。
past 4 years. Let me share with
第
you
一个呢
3
就
sets of
是
figures.
全国的
First,
338个地级城市，因为大气10条对
among the
338个地级城市都考虑了
338
PM10。
prefecture level
16年
cities
相比13
at or
年
above
是
prefecture level,
PM10 同比下降了15.5%。
the average PM10 concentration
第二个
in
数呢是
2016
3大
dropped
区
by
PM2.5 的
15.5%
数。
against that of
16年相比
2013.
2013年是同比分别下降了
And in
33%、
different
31.3%
localities,
和
PM2.5
31.9%。
concentration dropped by
京津冀是33%，长三角是
33% in
31.3%，
Beijing, Tianjin,
然后
Hebei region,
珠三角是31.9%。
by 31.3% in the
第
Yangtze
三
River
组数呢
Delta
是
and
有关优良天
31.9%
数
in
和
Pearl River
重污染
Delta,
天数的比例。
compared with that of 2013.
4年的努力呢，我们优良天数的比例啊，
With
是
our
从
efforts,
60.5%增加到了
the ratio
70.2%，
of
增加了
days with good air
13.7%。
quality was
重污染天数的比例呢是
4.2%
从
last year, up by 13.7 percentage points
8.6% 下
against
降到了
2013.
3%，下降了5.6个百分点。
The percentage of days with
所以
heavy
从这几组
pollution
数啊，可以
was 3%
充分地显示
down
出
by
来
5.6
大气
percentage
10
points
条
against
实施4
2013.
年以来成效
So
毫
those
无
3
疑
sets
问
of
是非常显著。
figures have demonstrated the good results since the
但与此
adoption
同
of
时
the
啊，
action plan.
确实，
That said,
我们现在在大气污染防治方面还存在不少的问题。
we still have many
回答
challenges
起来
in
呢，
preventing and
我觉得最起
controlling
码有这
air
么几个方面。
pollution.
第一个呢，总体来讲，
First,
我们的污染还是很重的，质量还是很不理想的。
on the whole,
比老百
the
姓的期待和
pollution
要
is
求
still
是
heavy and is
比较
far
大的差
fall
异。
short of people's expectations.
我们现在全国338个城市全年达标的比例只有84个，
Among the
也就是1/4不到24.8%。
338, the
然后
less
全
than
国的
1/4 of the cities
PM10
have
的平均
good air
浓度
qualities
是
throughout the
82，
year.
标准的是70，超过标准17.1%。PM2.5呢，
The
去年的平均是47，
2.5
标准是35，
concentration
超标34.3%。
were still higher than the standard. So on the whole, the challenge remains formidable. The second, in major areas and key time slots, pollution is particularly heavy. In northern China, for instance, in Beijing, Tianjin, Hebei, and the surrounding areas, especially in autumn and winter, there has been frequent occurrence of heavy pollution. And last winter, you may still recall that there was acute air pollution, and there's a strong public outcry. Third, despite the progress and improvement over the past years, on the whole, the progress is not enough. Mainly in industrial structure, which is dominated by heavy and chemical industries. We are soberly aware of these challenges, and we will follow the guidelines of the central leadership to ensure a success of the last year of the implementation of this action plan. Several months ago, we started to thoroughly study these problems and have carried out work on this front, especially on air pollution in Beijing, Tianjin, Hebei, and the surrounding areas. Work in other areas has also been carried out. The problem here in this area may be the most acute. To prevent and control air pollution of this region in autumn and winter this year, we have, together with Beijing, Tianjin, Hebei, Shandong, Henan, Shanxi, and their authorities, rolled out an action plan on comprehensive treatment of air pollution in autumn and winter in Beijing, Tianjin, Hebei, and the surrounding areas, 2017 to 2018. We also have 6 special plans that have been published. We have also held a press conference to make some introduction.
这个1+6的文件体系呢，我们正在大力的推动实施。
This is what we call the
从目前的情况来
1+6
看，成效还不错。
system. It has been
那么这个文件
implemented
体系
and is
跟目前
delivering.
我们采取的这些具体的行动啊，我个人总结了一下，我觉得有这么10个特点。
It has
这其中的一些
altogether
特点也是
10
从中央环保督
features,
察啊
and some have
反馈借鉴过
also
来的。
been
第
borrowed
一个呢是突出
from
工作重点，
the inspection of environmental protection. First, we have set priorities.
第二个呢是系统
Second,
综合施
we
策，
have taken a systemic
第
and
三个呢是
holistic
细化工作
approach.
任务，
Third, we have
第
make
四个呢
sure
是
the
紧
tasks
盯
are
党委政府，
detailed. Fourth, we have held the party committees and local governments
第五个呢
accountable.
是调集精兵强
Fifth,
将，
we have sent
第六
capable
个呢是强化
personnel.
技术支撑。
And sixth, we have strengthened
强化技术支撑里面，这里向大家报告，
technical
我们现在
support.
是每个市
For
都
each
派了一个专家组，
municipality, we have a experts team to pair up with
专家组啊
them
到各个市
to go to those
来指导
municipalities
各地啊，来加强污染防治工作。
and give guidance on air pollution
第七个呢
prevention and control.
是
Seventh,
加强统筹
we
性
have stepped up coordination.
我们正在推动啊，筹建呢、京
We
津冀
are
及周边地区的大气环
making
保机构，
preparations to set up
准备
a
啊建立这么一个
air
开展这么一个大气环
environment
区域的环保机构的一些
protection
试点，
agency for Beijing,
做到
Tianjin,
6个
Hebei,
统一
and the surrounding areas
统一规
and
划、统
unify
一
the
标准、
plans, standards,
统一许可、统一
permits,
监测、统一
monitoring,
执法、统一
law
验收。
enforcement, and contingency response.
第8个呢叫
Eighth
量化刚性问责，这也是在环保
We have
领域里面
ensured
历史上是
quantified and
首创。
strict
我们相信呢，
accountability
保卫作用
that
现
is
在
a
看起来
new
已经在
exploration and has proven effective.
第9个呢就是
Ninth,
充分的公开透明。
ensure
大
full
家注意到我们最
transparency
近这
and
个
disclosure.
京津冀周边地区的大气攻坚行动的信息很多，啊，
Recently, there's a lot
这
of
跟我们这个特
information
点是密切相
on
关的。
this front.
最后一条就是
10th,
加强宣传引导，
we have stepped up
因为开展这么一个
awareness
攻坚行动啊，
raising
宣传引
campaigns,
导也是非常重
which
要。
is very important.
一方面呢，通过宣传引导啊，
Through
要增
such
进大家对开展
campaign,
这次
people will
这
have
种
a
专项
greater
行动重
understanding
要性、
of the
必要性、
importance,
紧迫
necessity,
性以及正当性
urgency, and
充分的理解
legitimacy of such
和
efforts.
积极的参与。另外
And
一
they
方
will
面呢，
also, they're also
也要通
encouraged
过宣
to
传
take
引
an
导
active part.
让大家理解到，
And on the
像
other
这
hand,
种
it will also help
PM2.5 的
to
治理、大气污
shape
染防治，
public
正如我前面讲到的，
expectation
既要打攻坚战，
for the treatment of
也在打
PM
次
2.5 and PM10. We need to take
既要有
immediate efforts
打好攻
and
坚战的
bear
决心
in mind the
和
long-term
信心，也要有
plans. We
打
need
持久
to
战的
have
耐心，
resolve and
也不能太着
patience.
急，
But
不
we should
太
not
不能
be
太急于求成。
overly anxious for quick
问
results.
题的积累不是1天2天，
The problems
要解决
were not
也绝非能够一夜之间。
created in one day, so the solution also takes
所以我们
time.
这项工作啊，按照部署，现在在紧密的推进，紧锣
We
密鼓的推进。
are advancing the
整
various
个攻
work
坚行动
according
呢
to
是
the
从
plans.
今年9月份开始，
Starting from September this year, we
将持续到明年3
will
月份，
continue our efforts
并且向大家报告，
by March next
我
year.
们这种攻坚行动可不是打一次就
And
完，
this is not a one-time thing.
以后几年还会
one-off
长期
thing.
的把它坚持下
It will
去。
be
也从这个
continued
意义上来
in the
讲，
future.
我们开展的这些专项行动，
And these
制定
special
实施的这些措施，
campaigns, these
绝不
measures
是在搞运动时，
are
而
not
恰恰
a
是在
one-off
探索和建立
campaign or movement. Instead,
并
it
且
is
这种
a
长效机制
a
现在看起来这
exploration
种
of
机制看起来
long-term
还是管
mechanism.
用的，
They
因为
have
它管用
proven effective. So
完全可以肯定，我们后续一
we
定
will
会坚持下去。
continue
我就回答这个
with these efforts. Thank you.
说京津冀地区每个市都派有
每个市都还
For
有
each municipality,
是
each
地级市，
prefecture level municipality, there's an experts team paired up with them.
第4排那位男士。
你好，我是香港商业电台的记者。问题是提给杨伟门副主任的。 因为现在在香港其实也有很多一些绿色金融的一些认证过的产品，例如一些绿色的债券，但是目前债券通的南向通还没有开通。那想问一下，现在中央在南向通开通的情况有没有一个时间表？然后未来5年会不会有一些内地跟香港在金融上，特别是绿色金融上有一些进一步的互联互通的一些举措？谢谢。
I'm with Hong Kong Commercial Radio. Hong Kong now has many products with the certification of green finance, like green securities. But in terms of the stock connect with the mainland, we do not see a real timetable. Do you have a clear timetable in doing so? And will there be more programs in connectivity between the mainland Hong Kong in green finance?
好，谢谢。
Thank you for the question. Just now I said we are now exploring the role of market-based system and to promote ecological environment protection, and there's still great potential to be tapped in this direction. And green finance is one important aspect of this effort. The 19th Party Congress report also emphasized that China will promote the green finance, and last year the PBOC already issued a notice on developing a green finance system and had a division of labor among different departments. And this program is under preparation. We have already achieved some initial progress in the development of green finance. For example, in the first 9 months of this year, China issued 134 billion RMB of green bonds, which accounts for 24% of the world's total. And China is still the leaders in the world, is now leading the world in terms of green bonds. And 21 major green finance institutions, the balance of green bonds is over 7 trillion RMB. And the proportion of green bonds in total credit is now 8.8% and still steadily increasing. And we also have a number of innovative products, such as green index products, and they have provided more options and choices for marketing for investors in the market. At the same time, the finance department is studying the possibility of setting up a national fund for green development. The relevant departments, mainly the CSRC, China Securities Regulatory Commission, is studying to improve the disclosure of listed company information in green finance and green development. And also the PBOC has launched a number of pilot zones for green development and green finance. And we have also had cooperation with some other countries, foreign countries, under China France and China UK. Economic and financial dialogues. We have also had cooperation initiatives on green finance. So all these are our progress in development of green finance, but compared to the needs of the industries, there's still even greater potential to be tapped. And Hong Kong is one of the major financial centers in the world. I trust in terms of the issuance of green funds, green bonds, mainland and Hong Kong will strengthen cooperation to achieve win-win outcomes and work together to promote the development of green finance, green industries and green projects in the country. Thank you.
感谢主持人。中华合作时报记者提问：那总书记在19大报告中提出，令3农鼓舞的乡村振兴战略。那我注意到， 既有无论是江苏省供销社在全省推进的农药零差率统一配供，还是河北零售等关于畜禽、粪污资源化利用而推进的123产业融合，其实都和乡村建设密切相关。那么不知道乡村振兴战略近期是否会出台详细的方案或规划？那这其中根据农业面源污染近5年所取得的成效，是否又会开展一些新的举措？谢谢。
哪个媒体？
中华合作时报。
中华合作时报。
With China Corporation Times, General Secretary Xi Jinping pointed out in the report to the 19th CPC National Congress that we need to implement the strategy of revitalize the countryside, which is very encouraging to the farmers and the countryside. But we have seen a number of programs produced in Jiangsu province, Hebei province, like the integration of the primary, secondary, and tertiary industries. I'd like to know, are there specific programs in implementing the strategy of revitalizing the countryside? And in the recent 5 years, we have seen a number of specific measures to treat the rural non-point pollution. Are there more programs to be rolled out?
杨主任说。
我先说一下。
简单说吧。
对，我简单说。因为这个乡村振兴战略啊，生态环境的改善，
Revitalization strategy and
政要部。
environmental and ecological management is definitely an important part of this strategy. And in the improvement of rural environment, the Chinese government and the governments at all various levels have all along attached high importance to this issue. And our efforts have produced some initial results. As I said just now, we have implemented the campaign of overall management of rural environment. If my memory is correct, this program started in 2008. 37.5 billion RMB has been allocated by the central government under this program, and over 200 million rural population has benefited. And this program has helped resolve some of the issues close to people's life, like sewage and urban wastes. Domestic wastes, and this program has provided a strong impetus for ecological protection, and we are going to continue with this campaign in the future. And the relevant department has already made and set out the target to complete this program in 200,000 villages, which is 1/3 of the total number of villages in China by 2020. And we're also strengthening the supervision and oversight on the pollution in the rural environment to prevent the transfer of pollution from urban area to rural area. That was one of the priorities for our efforts. And also in the overall and comprehensive utilization of the stocks, chemical fertilizers. In these areas, the Ministry of Environmental Protection is working with the Ministry of Agriculture to improve our efforts. And I'm confident that the environment in the rural area will also improve together with the environment in the urban area. And the ecological environment in the rural area will become better, and will be able to meet the ever-growing needs of the rural population for a better environment. Let me add to what Minister Li said. The Rural Revitalization Strategy is one of the highlights of the 19th Party Congress report, and it is another important strategy for the rural area, following the strategy of building a new socialist countryside, and is aimed at improving issues concerning rural population, agricultural production, and the countryside. And I'm sure that specific implementing steps will be made under this strategy, following the logic. Next year at the meeting of the Central Leading Group on Rural Work, and some specific plans and measures will be introduced. I'm not personally in charge of this, but I think that will happen next year.
当然，李部长不一定同意我这些观点啊。我们确实存在着重视工业。
In the past, we put a lot of emphasis on the prevention of pollution in industries and urban areas, but we were not paying enough attention and devoting enough resources to the prevention of pollution in the rural areas. But over the past 5 years, the situation has notably improved. For example, our General Secretary has personally presided over a meeting of the Office of the Central Leading Group on Financial and Economic Affairs, which is focused on the resource utilization of rural wastes.
吃肉它不可避免，养殖不可避免要带来污染物，是吧？我们国家一年
Meat is an important part of our diet. In order to provide meat for the population, animal husbandry needs to be developed, and animal husbandry produces wastes and pollution. And if these pollution are not treated, they will be discharged into lakes and rivers and cause a lot of pollution. So the relevant departments have already designated certain areas that are forbidden for animal husbandry. And also, in order to address this problem, we are promoting the resource utilization or treatment of animal wastes. Actually, animal wastes are a very important source of methane, which can be further generated, processed into natural gas. And there are a lot we can do in this area. And the resources transformed from animal waste can also be used to help improve the life of the rural population. Some of these resources can be used as a source of heating for the households in the rural area. In the meeting presided over by General Secretary, he heard a report from Zhejiang Province. The experience of Zhejiang Province is very useful and inspirational for the whole country. And some of these their experience can be replicated by other provinces and other regions. And the wastes of the rural production can also be used as fertilizers, and that is one experience of the Zhejiang Province. And I think going forward, all the relevant departments will follow the requirement of the Rural Revitalization Strategy and to put equal emphasis on the protection of urban rural environments and address the problem of rural pollution. I fully agree with the point and analysis made by Director Yang, that is compared to the prevention and control of pollution in urban areas and industries, our efforts in the rural areas is not sufficient, and to some extent they have become the weaker links of all the weak links in ecological protection. The improvement and management of rural environment is very important. It can meet the rural population's needs for a better life and a better environment. And also, the quality of rural environment has a direct bearing on the quality of food and water, the food we eat and the water we drink. So it not only concerns the better life of the rural population, but also the better life of the urban population. So it must be put high on the agenda. General Secretary Xi has emphasized that we need to strengthen the prevention and control of pollution from non-point sources in rural areas. We need to launch a campaign to address the pollution from non-point sources. And this is like clearing call for the Environmental Protection Department. We will follow the requirement of the 19th Party Congress and the instructions of the General Secretary and try our best to bring the the protection of rural environment to the same level as that of the urban area.
好，谢谢发言人。我是解放日报上官新闻的记者。我们记得去年1月份，这个总书记主持召开长江经济带发展的座谈会。他在会上指出，这个当前和今后相当长的一段时间的任务，是要把修复长江生态作为一个压倒性的位置，摆在一个压倒性的位置。但是总书记同时提出，这个长江沿线各个省区是要共抓大保护，不搞大开发。但是我们这1年来，我们通过一些媒体的报道也发现，长江沿岸这个环境污染的问题仍然是有不少的突出的问题，也有一些隐患。那想请问李部长，环保部下一步对于长江流域的这个生态修复和这个环境保护有没有进一步的考虑？会不会出台一些更加严厉的、更加具体的一些措施？这个过程中跟沿线各地方的这个关系会是怎样一个处理？谢谢。
With Liberation Daily, in January last year, General Secretary Xi Jinping stressed at the meeting on the development of the Yangtze Economic Belt that ecological restoration of the Yangtze River needs to be put at the most important position. And we need to promote well-coordinated environmental conservation and avoid excessive development. But over the past year, we have seen still relatively serious ecological hazards along the Yangtze River are still there. What measures will the Ministry of Environmental Protection take to promote ecological conservation of the Yangtze Economic Belt and the Yangtze River Basin? And how will the ministry handle its relations with local governments?
谢谢您的提问。
Thank you.
对长江的生态环境保护啊，党中央、国务院
The Party Central Committee and the State Council have all along paid high attention to the ecological environment protection of the Yangtze Economic Belt, especially General Secretary Xi, like you said, at the seminar on promoting the development of the Yangtze Economic Belt. The General Secretary stressed that we must put ecology first and ensure sound development of the belt, and put the restoration of Yangtze River's ecological environment on the very top of the agenda, work hard to protect it and refrain from excessive development. And in the report of the 19th Party Congress, there's also language on this front to promote the Yangtze Economic Belt development. After the seminar last year, the localities have followed the General Secretary's guidance and made great efforts. There has been initial progress. For instance, the water quality has improved. In the first 9 months of this year, the share of good water quality section went up by 4.3% against the same period of last year. And that is no easy achievement because there's no major change in the meteorological conditions. The share of water quality section under Category 5 dropped by 0.8 percentage points. And that is a testimony of the efforts on the part of the localities. But like you said, along the Yangtze Economic Belt, there are still acute environmental challenges. And this is a major weak link. The task remains formidable. The challenges
一
are
个呢就是这个生态环境治理方面的基础设施欠债还是比较多。
there is still huge infrastructure deficit in
更不用说农
water
村的
pollution treatment. Even in cities, there is this deficit,
二一个呢就
let
是
alone in rural area. And
这个
second,
沿线
along the
的重化
belt,
工业啊，
there's
布局还是比较密集，环境风险也是比较大。
heavy and
第三个呢
chemical
就是针对刚才
industries
前面的问
with
题回答的，跟全国一
major
样，
environmental
农村
hazards.
面源的污染是比较。
Third, the
再一个呢，
pollution of
第四个呢
non-point sources in
就
rural
是
areas is
在
particularly
生态系
prominent.
统方面，一些浅滩湿地啊，这些
And
年也造成一
fourth,
些
in the
损害
shoals,
甚至
wetland,
破坏，
and
对生态
other
系统服务功能
ecological
啊，
systems,
它的维持啊
the
会产
damage
生一些
is
不利的影响。
huge
那么这些问
and
题啊，
has
应该说
compromised
总体
the
来讲
restoration capacity of the
存
ecosystem.
在甚至是比较突出的。
So those are the
那
problems
么
that we face.
环境保护部呢，在落实总书记的要求，共抓大保护，
Our
不
ministry
搞大开发。
has followed
这
the
一两
General
年呢，我们
Secretary's
是主要
guidance
开展了这么几项工作。后续的这些工作，我们还会
and carried
继
out
续把
the
它坚持啊
following
推动下
aspects
去。
of work.
一个呢，就是加强了长江经济带
First,
生态环境保护的顶层设计。
We have strengthened
我
the
们会
top
同相
level
关部门
design
呢，
of
通
protecting
过深入研究啊，
ecological
制定发
environment
布
of the
了
belt. Together with
生态
other
长江经济带
agencies,
生态环境保护规划
we
今年7月份
wrote
发布。
out the
可能有些媒体记者已
plan
经注意
for
到，
environmental protection of the
那
Yangtze
么这个
Economic
规划
Belt
呢，
last July.
是对未来一个阶段一个
This
时期啊
plan，
整个长江经济带生态环境保护啊，尤
has
其
laid
长江的生态环境保护
out
进行了
the
顶层设计。
has made the top
那么
level
这个规划
design
呢，
for environmental
还
protection
是相比
along
过
the
去的一
belt.
些行业的规划啊、流域的一些规划，还是
It
有
is
比较明显的特点。
distinctive
它的
from
内容和特点呢，我是概括了
industrial
3句话
plans.，
叫山水
It has
并重、
given priorities to
四抓
the
同步、五江
water
共建。
resource, environment, ecology.
什么叫
There's
山水并
simultaneous
重呢？就
development
是
and
3个水一起抓。
development.
水资源、水
There
生
is
态
a、
水环境。
equal priority given to
因为
water
长江
resources,
要
water
治
environment,
理好
and
啊，
water
非得这么干不
ecology.
可，必须
And
山水
that
并
is a
重。
must if we are to
某
improve
种意义上
the
来讲，是
environment
环境
of
的
the
问题
Yangtze
就
River.
是跟水资源、跟水生态它是密切相关的。你水资源做不到科学合理利
There
用，
must be
水生态
reasonable use of water
得不
resources,
到有力的修复保护，
good
那
restoration
你
and
水环
protection
境
of water
你可能要治理
ecology
改善也很困难。
to ensure a
所
good
谓
water
四抓同步呢，
environment.
就是第一，要
And
狠
for
抓上下游
simultaneous
的
progress,
上下游的统筹
we
性。
first need to ensure good
第二呢，
coordination
要
among the
狠抓
upper,
一些
middle, and
重
lower
点区
streams of the
域，
river
尤其是两湖一口。两湖指的是
and
鄱阳湖和
ensure
洞庭
good
湖，一口
progress
是
on
指的
the
长江口。这
water
在
mouth of Yangtze
长
River,
江这条
the Dongting Lake,
这个
and
生命
the
体里
Poyang
面，这
Lake.
个两湖一口啊是非常重要。
These three are extremely important
第
in
三呢，
the
要狠抓一批
ecosystem.
生态
And also,
保护和
we
环
need
境治理
to
的一些
carry
重大工
out
程。
a number of major projects of
第四呢，要
ecological
狠抓
restoration and
有
environmental
关
treatment.
体制机制的改革创新。
And
因为
lastly,
很多问题
we
要解
need
决
to
啊，
make explore
必须
new
靠
ways
体
and
制机制创新。
institutions
正
and
如刚才
systems.
前面伟明主任讲的，我们生态文
As
明
Director
领域的
Yang
很多的改
said,
革啊，为我们
many of the
治理生态
reform
环境
in this
提供
area
了强大的动力。
has provided strong impetus
长江
for
经济带
our
也不易。
efforts. The same applies for our efforts in
最后一
improving
句
the
话就是五
environment
江
of the
共治
Yangtze River
五江共治
belt.
的第一条江是叫和谐长江，就是要
And
通
we
过
need
啊
to ensure
推
harmonious
动水资源的
Yangtze
科学开发
River
利用，
and
建设一条
ensure
和谐长江。
reasonable use
第二
of
呢
its
是要
resources.
通过啊加强水生态环境的治理，
We also need to
改
treat
善
the
治
water
理建设一条
ecology
清洁长江。
and make the Yangtze
第
River
三呢
a
是要
clean
通过
one.
水生态系统的修复与保护，
We need
建设一
to
条健康长江。
restore the
第四呢是要通过
water
严
ecology
and ensure the health of the Yangtze River.
建设一条优美长江。
最后一条长江呢是要
the
通过
beauty of the Yangtze River,
有关
and
环境风险的一些有效管控，
we
建
will
设一条安全。
forestall
所以
environmental
整个这
risks
个
to
规划
ensure the Yangtze
可以
River's
它的内容
safety.
和特点可以用这3句话来概括，就是叫三江
So
三
those
水
are
并重、四
our
法同步、五江共建。我们
priority
相信呢，这个规
efforts.
划未来啊能够起到
I'm
比较好
sure
的一个作
the
用。这是第一
plan
件事。
will
第二件
play
事
an
呢，就是
important role in this
在
regard.
长江对长江经济带相关的一些地
And
方省市进行
the
中
related
央环保督查的过程中间，我们
localities
把
in
有
our
关
environmental
涉及到
protection
长江
inspection,
的污染防治、环境保护问题摆到一个重要位置，
we have given
全力在对进行推动，
high
并且借
priority
这个
to the
督查
Yangtze
的机
River
会
related
已经解决了一些
environment
突出的问题。
protection.
第三呢是
And
在
third,
组织加快长江经济带的生态红线的划定工作。
we have sped up the efforts to draw a red
这项
line
工作呢，
for the
到目前为止
ecology of the
已
Yangtze
经
River.
有了基本的
So
成果，
far, we
预
have
计到
had
今年
initial
年底，
achievements.
整个11
We
个
expect that by the end of this year,
省市自治区能够完
the
成省
provinces,
一级的生态红线的
regions,
划定。
autonomous regions, and municipalities will complete
第四
the
个是呢，我们正在
drawing of red
组
line
织
at the
谋划，
provincial level.
实际上已经开始启动推动了
And
整个
also,
长江经济带的饮用水源地的生态
we
环境保护的整治工作。
worked to protect
我们准备用
the
2年的时
source
间，
of
整个
drinking
长江经济带
water of this belt.
县城以上大概1300多个、
Within
1320处
3 years
几种饮
for
用水水源地
the
全面进行整治，
1,320 places
完成整改，
above the county
全面达到要
level,
求。
there will be overall
今年年底
improvement.
地级以上城市，明年年底县城以上，这项工作正在积极推动。
By the
我
end
们
of
还是
this
很有
year,
信心的，
there will be
能够
improvement
完
in the
成。
prefecture level
总而言
cities,
之呢，
and by
长
the
江
end
是
of
我们
next
中华
year,
民
there
族的
will
母
be
亲河，
improvement in the county level cities.
非常
The
重要。
Yangtze River is
我
our
们一定会按照
mother
总规矩
river.
提
It
出
is
的公
extremely
告大保护、
important.
不搞大开
We
发，
will follow the
把这个要
guidance
求
of general
切切实实地
secrecy
把它
of
落实，为中华
working
民族的
hard
永
to
续发
protect
展
it and refrain
能够
from excessive
创造更
development
加良好的条件。
and ensure good conditions for the sustained development of the Chinese nation.
不是，第3排，对，一直在举手。
好，谢谢主持人。我是来自浙江卫视的记者。大家都知道，浙江是作为两山重要理论的发源地，多年来
Promoting the development of an ecological civilization in this process, what do you think can we draw from Zhejiang's experience?
我来回答一下。2周之前，大概3周之前吧，我们环保部和浙江省一起在安吉这个召开了全国生态文明建设的现场工作的推进会。安吉大家知道呢，是05年的时候总书记两山理论的发源地。绿水青山就是金山银山，就是05年的时候总书记在安吉时候提出的。那么我们这一次的现场会呢，是在安吉召开的。在安吉召开这一次，在浙江召开这一次生态文明现场会目的很重要的一个目的之一就是要推广浙江在绿色发展、生态文明建设方面的一些好的做法、好的经验。浙江呢是10几年以来在绿色发展方面，在推动生态文明建设方面，确确实实是坚持不懈坚定
in Anji
推广浙江
is
在
to
绿色发展、生态文
promote
明建设方面的
Zhejiang
一些好的
experience
做法、
and
好
good
的经验。
practices in
浙江呢
the building of
是
an ecological civilization.
10几年以来
For the past decade and more,
在绿色发展方面，在推动生态文明建设方面，
Zhejiang
确确实实
has
是坚持不懈
been making persistent efforts
坚定
in
不移
green
地
development and building ecological
完全推动
civilization,
取得了实实在在的成效，
and also
并且在这个过程中
achieved
间
concrete
创造和积累了很多好
progress and
的做法和经验。
outcomes in this endeavor and accumulated
以刚才您提的这个水为例，
useful experience and good practices. Take
浙江的水的污染防治，
water pollution as an example.
应该说远远地走在了我们相当一部分省市的前面。
Zhejiang is a front runner in the country. It has been ahead of many provinces in the country.
它的黑臭水体也基本上得到了消灭。
Black and smelly water
它的
problem has
城
been
镇的污水处理设施
basically resolved,
也不仅
and
仅是城
urban
镇的污水处理
sewage
设施，包
treatment
括乡村
facilities, and also even rural sewage treatment
这
facilities
个建成的比例、建成运行的比例已经是非常
are quite developed, and there's a high proportion of water treatment facilities in Zhejiang province that is up and running. This has a lot to do with the
此
importance
后的历届浙江的省委省组长
attached
都是非
by
常重视，
General Secretary Xi when he was the party secretary of Zhejiang province,
并且在整个做工
and
中间，
his
他们
successors,
怎么样把这个工作把它
other party
落实
secretaries
下
of
去，
Zhejiang province,
怎么样把这个压力
have
传递
also
下去。
put a lot of attention,
有
given
很
a
多
lot of
很好的一些
attention
做
to
法，因为时间
environmental
有限，在
protection,
这里
and they have
不再展
many
开，不再宣传了，
good
大家有机会的话可以
practices.
专门到浙江去。
In the interest of
做一些
time,
采
I
访。
will not go into details. I invite
我觉
you
得是
to
非常好。
visit Zhejiang to
我
see
们
for
这次
yourself
在安吉的现场会上，
their
专门是做
experience
宣传
and
资源
good
推广，也
practices.
组织大
And
家
we held that
到
meeting
浙
in
江一些地
Zhejiang
方进行一些
and to promote these
提来
good
提一些代
practices,
表，
and also
我觉得
organized
他们的体会都是很深
and
刻。
invited the
那么浙江
delegates
这
of
些
other
做法和经
provinces
验
to
呢，我
visit
们后续
Zhejiang
还会
to learn the
作为环
experience
保部
of the
加大力
province.
度推广到其
As
他
far
的
as
地
the
方去，
Ministry of Environmental Protection is
并且不
concerned,
仅仅
we
是
will
在水
also
的方
promote
面，
the experience of
包
Zhejiang
括其他方面一些
to
工作，
other
都来充
regions,
分
and not just in water
我相
pollution
信呢，
prevention control, but
这
also
个
in other
这些好的
aspects
做法和
of
经验，
ecological
在其他地
protection.
方
I
推广以后
trust
也
that
一定会取
these
得
good
跟浙江
practices
一
and
样的
experience
好处。
will produce the same good
大家看来
results
很
in
踊
other
跃，但是时
provinces
间超过比较多
as
了。
in Zhejiang.
你看，要不最后一个问题？
Last question, maybe?
对，那个第三排那位女士吧。好，你的左手。
谢谢主持人，我是来自中新社中新网的记者。我的问题是有关这个土壤污染的，就是在近期我们看到有一些报道是说，在中国的一些城市出现了这个土壤重金属的污染。我们都知道，这个土壤的质量可以说是跟我们食品安全也非常相关。那么想请问一下，咱们下一步有什么新的举措来治理这个土壤污染？同时，怎么来保证咱们老百姓舌尖上的安全？谢谢。
With China News Service, we have seen some reports about the heavy metal pollution in some cities. We know that soil pollution concerns the food safety of the public. What measures do you have to ensure food safety and treat soil pollution so that the food safety of the people can be ensured?
土壤污染呢，确实是非常重要的。
Indeed, soil
这个
soil pollution prevention and control is very important
因为它影响我们的米袋子啊、菜
because
园
soil
都影
pollution
响，
concerns the
并且土壤污染呢，
safety
它相对大气污染来
of
讲，
our
相对水污染来
food
讲，它
and the
的
water that we drink, and compared to air quality, soil prevention control of
也因此
soil
呢，必须
pollution
啊
is even more complicated and difficult.
高度重视，下更大的力气啊，
Therefore, we need
更
to
大的功夫啊
attach high
来加紧
importance
推动。
and make great
而
efforts
在这个方这
to
个方面
promote
呢，
work in this
大
area.
家知道，18大以来呀，我们是
Since the 18th Party Congress,
推动出台了
we have
3个10条，其中就包括
promulgated 3 10-point plans. One of them is on soil
70
pollution.
条是13年发布的，水10条是15年发布的，土
In
10条是去年发布的。
2013, it was the 10-point plan
尽管
on
发
air
布的时间
quality,
不长，
2015 on water
但是现在
quality,
看起来效
and
果
last year we
工作正在
promulgated the 10-point plan
深入的往
on
前推
soil
进，
pollution and soil quality.
也在呈现出一些成效。
The relevant work is moving
这
forward
里向大家可以报
rapidly
告
and has
2
already
个方面
produced some initial
进展。
results.
一个呢
I can
是
share with you
有关
2
土壤、有关土10条
progresses First is about two foundational work of the 10-point plan on soil quality. One is in the formulation of standards and regulations. Compared with the air pollution and water pollution, our efforts in this area is relatively weak. And to some extent, there is a vacuum to fill in this area. And since the promulgation of the 10-point plan, we have made some very encouraging progress. The draft of the law on the prevention and control of soil pollution has been submitted to the National People's Congress, and the first round of deliberation has been completed, and also the relevant supporting measures and the methods are under formulation or have already been promulgated. For example, the methods for the management of soil environment in polluted land lots, and also the methods for the management of soil environment in rural lands have been promulgated. And second foundational work is the survey of soil pollution. Without detailed information about the situation on the ground, it will be impossible for us to carry out the prevention and control of soil pollution. And in order to get the detailed information on the ground, a survey is very important. And the 5 ministry departments, including the Ministry of Environmental Protection, have promulgated the overall plan for the survey of soil pollution in the country and started the survey on the full scale. And also, we are making progress in 2 priority areas. One is the classified management of rural land. The Ministry of Agriculture has launched a pilot program on the designation of areas that are banned for production of agricultural produce in Tianjin, Liaoning, Hunan, Hubei. And also together with the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Land Resources, we have distributed the pilot program for crop rotation and fallow land. Pilot program under this plan has been launched in areas like Hunan province. And the other priority work is on the excess management of construction land. Together with the Ministry of Land Resources and Ministry of Housing and Urban Rural Development, we have launched the information system for soil environment management of polluted land lots to achieve sharing of information among the 3 departments. And also in places like Beijing, Tianjin, Shanghai, the catalog of polluted land lots has been established, and the catalog of companies under supervision in soil environment management have been introduced in various provinces, municipalities, and autonomous regions. And another important aspect of the 10-point plan or regulations for soil management is pilot programs, like technological pilot programs. We have launched technological pilot programs in 200 localities. Although the 10-point regulations was only launched 1 year ago, but but it is making smooth progress. And going forward, we will work with relevant departments to step our efforts, strengthen target evaluation, and try to achieve some early results in the prevention and control of soil pollution. Our bottom line is soil pollution or soil environment will not cause any serious risks to the food we eat, the water we drink, and also the health of the people. And we will step up efforts to restore the soil environment and improve the situation as quickly as possible. Thank you. In the interest of time, we'll bring today's press conference to an end, and this is also the last press conference hosted by the Press Center. I want to thank all of you for your attention, participation, and the coverage of the press conferences. We have the last group interview tonight. We will invite the deputies that are working in the field of environmental protection to the group interview. You can ask your questions to them as well. Thank you.
You've been watching a press conference there talking about China's green and sustainable development as well as environmental matters. Let's get more analysis with our studio guest, Mr. Ma Jun, with the Institute of Public and Environmental Affairs. A very informative press conference that went into well over time. I remember before the press conference, you said you would pay special attention to Minister Li, and I think he gave some very honest answers. But he didn't shy away from some of the tougher questions when it comes to environmental protection, particularly air pollution. How do you think he did in that press conference, and your general impression of the information given by the press briefing?
His debut performance, I think is great, and obviously he's not shy. He openly and honestly acknowledged that we still have gaps in meeting with people's rising demand for clean air, and he mentioned that about 3/4 of our cities still not in compliance with our modest air quality standards, and we definitely need to still do more, and especially during the winter season. And he's for the first time, I think it's also he give a thinking. He reviewed the thinking that for the first time that 2035, not just the average, the urban cities' average concentration of PM 2.5 should meet with the standards of 35 micrograms per cubic meter. But that
is one daunting task.
It's one daunting task. But even in those, the most, the region that suffered the highest, the most severe pollution should also try to meet with that. That is daunting because we know Beijing this year, even it's tough to meet with 60, the target of 60 microgram, and for the surrounding regions, some of them need to cut the concentration by nearly 2/3 to meet with that. And then another, I'm also impressed with this idea that we're still not perfect. We need to reform. We need to, design more, do more top level designing, including try to tap into the market approach, use the invisible hands to try to regulate, motivate the corporations, not just only be dependent on the central government inspection. The government role should be there, but the market approach. So I'm also impressed by that.
I want to talk to you about a specific term that has been thrown around so much, the system for developing ecological civilization. Our international viewers may not be very familiar with this term. What does it entail? And when we talk about reforms of ecological civilization, what do they mean?
Yeah. I think in the West and in China as well, when we talk about protection mechanism, we talk about legislation, enforcement, litigation. But in China, the magnitude, it's so big, it's so complex, the environmental protection, that we need some other, mechanism. For example, the accountability mechanism based on the assessment of the performance of those local officials, who's kind of playing such a big role in ensuring the protection of local environment. With that, like Minister Yang put it, we need to develop those so-called accountability system based on the balance sheet when they leave the position. I think that's highly exploring, and also the ecological compensation, cross region, cross watershed, all this, and they also mentioned about spatial planning, the planning and protection of the territorial space. All these are top level designings that also needed in China to protect the environment.
In building a beautiful China, which is another concept that is very frequently used when we talk about China's objectives and goals, we have some very important deadlines. For example, 2035, where if all things go to plan, there will be a systematic improvement of ecological environment. Just how difficult is it to achieve that goal by 2035? We have about 18 years.
Yeah, it's daunting, at this moment with a beautiful China, need to be a clean China, a healthy China, healthy environment. With that, we need to clean up all this pollution from air, water, and soil. At this moment, that's a daunting task. We talk about air pollution control. Actually, soil and water are going to take even bigger efforts to achieve. And then the resource, how to manage all these resources, from arable land to forest, grassland and wetland and the coastal seas ecosystem, that's also daunting. And then last but not least, the biodiversity. We need to make sure that our modernization is a modernization which achieve harmonious coexistence between man and nature. And a beautiful China need to be a land, a place not just good for people to live, but also for the environment, for the species. Today, we heard that China's plan to give 2% of the territory back to the giant panda, to the tiger, Siberian tiger, to the antelope. I think that's very exciting to learn.
Ambitious goals. Very exciting time, but very challenging time as well. Mr. Ma, thank you so much for sharing your insight with us. We will come back to you later in our program. And thank you for watching our special coverage here on CGTN. The World Today with me will continue in just a moment. Keep it right here on CGTN.